So, you guys, like you said, and obviously as we all know, you guys have played in Rokugan before, but just a refresher for it, you guys are all playing samurai in the world called Rokugan, the Emerald Empire, and you are definitely the 1%. You are the ruling class of warrior elites. You swear fealty to a lord, and theoretically, you take the code of honor called Bushido into every decision that you make. Practically every clan sort of bends the rules on Bushido and what tenets they tend to ignore and which ones they tend to focus on. If you look on the player cheat sheet that I sent you, it does have all the tenets of Bushido on there. So if you want a quick reference of like, oh, what are the 7 things I should probably be default to doing, you can take a look at that. All samurai are divided into clans, which are loose groupings of interrelated families. Usually clans tend to their own business and police their own affairs. So usually if there's a scorpion problem, the scorpion handle it. There's not much other people getting involved. However, Rokugan has its own version of the FBI, basically, called the Emerald Magistrates, and they are specifically involved in disputing conflicts that resolve between multiple clans. So where there's not a clear authority in something, the Emerald Magistrates, by the Empress's decree, have the authority to go and resolve it. So if you want to think of it, FBI, they can cross state boundaries, and they are not really bound to a jurisdiction. Let's see. In criminal investigations, the number one thing that's important is the testimony of a samurai. That is the most important piece of evidence above the word of any peasant. A samurai will always outclass their word, and even above physical evidence. Because to challenge a samurai's word and call them a liar is to basically insult their whole family. So the number one thing that is important to have is testimony. And if you do contradict the words of a samurai, it isn't uncommon for duels to be called for the spirits to decide who is actually correct. One last thing, obviously this is a fantasy game, so there are supernatural elements present in the world, but they're very rare. It's sort of a low fantasy world, the way that I run it at least. And the involvement with the supernatural is usually the domain of the Crab Clan, who protect Rokugan from the influence of the Shadowlands taint, which is sort of a physical and spiritual corruption that will bend the person who's tainted basically into becoming a servant of hell. It's really nasty stuff. So, with all that world info out of the way, the way the system works, obviously I have all of the skill rolls that you're going to mainly be using pre-calculated on your sheet for the roll and keep and stuff. But if you ever want to know, if you ever want to try something that's not on your sheet, there are other skills. There's like way too damn many skills in this game. So I decided to trim down only the ones that you guys would most likely to need. But if you want to try other stuff, you probably can. Just give me a call. Let me know. But generally speaking, you roll a number of dice equal to your stat and your skill, and then you keep a number of dice equal to your stat. So let's say, for example, if you want to look at Dusty, you're playing the Matsu, correct?
Correct.
So your defense rank 2, right? So if you ever wanted to roll defense, your defense is rank 2, and defense goes off of reflexes. So 2 plus 2 is 4. That's your rolled dice, and then 2 is your keep dice because that's your stat. If you'd like to, you can call raises for special effects. So if you want to succeed at something, if you're trying to make a roll and you want to get more out of it, you want it to be a succeed and type thing, you call a raise, which means you increase the target number you have to hit by 10, or by 5, I'm sorry. But if you miss that, you miss all of it. So and for example, yeah.
Sorry, and we've been playing Savage Worlds, guys, and what I'll say the big difference is, in Savage Worlds, raises are automatic. In this game, they're not. So if you roll and you have massive explosions and you roll like 100, if you didn't call a raise, you don't get the raise.
Right. That's on skill rolls. For damage rolls, you basically just get what you roll. So you can definitely roll 100 on damage. In the event that you guys start taking wounds, if you look on your sheet, wounds count up in this game. And when you're in those ranges, that plus number is basically what the difficulty of everything you're trying to do is. So if we look at Dusty's character sheet again, if you have 17 wounds, you are grazed. So that means everything that you're doing has its difficulty increased by 5. So you can see this is sort of a death spirally game where the more you get hit, the harder it will be to do things. So don't get hit. Don't get into fights.
Got it.
Last thing, void points. I outlined those on your character sheet, or I'm sorry, on the cheat sheet that I linked you. Brian, did you get that cheat sheet?
So I'm looking at the character sheet. The cheat sheet is...
I linked that in
Roll20 chat.
Yeah, I'll link it again in Roll20 here. That outlines what you can do with void points near the bottom. Okay. You have a number of them equal to your void ring. So most of you will have 2 or 3 of them, and when you spend them, you get a bonus. So the most common thing is that you just get an extra 1k1 to any type of roll that you want to make. You can give yourself a rank in a skill if you don't have that skill, which only adds 1KO to the roll, but it allows your dice to explode, because normally if you're unskilled, your dice can't explode. And then you can also reduce the wounds that you are about to take by 10 flat. So those are the 3 most useful things, but also you can do those other uses too, and I'll let you guys sort of look through those as we play if they seem to be apt and useful at the time. One last thing I'll say, just as a disclaimer for the adventure, this adventure does, depending on which questions you ask and where you go, have not depictions, but sort of evidence of domestic violence. Is that an issue that any of you guys have? It's nothing on screen, but it might be something that is hinted at, or is that an issue with anybody?
I'm cool.
Thank you for the warning, but no,
yes.
I'm good.
We're good.
Mike, you cool? Cool, awesome.
Yeah, I'm good.
And obviously, I don't expect there to be anything more objectionable in that, but if there is, just let me know. Whisper to me. Stop it. We can do that.
You heard our Cthulhu critique game.
Yes. I'm not going anywhere through there. So, yeah. So now that we have all selected characters, so you guys are the Yoriki, which are basically deputies of an Emerald Magistrate. The 3 of you are sent to this town of Koyo Nomura, where you have heard that there have been a string of murders. Specifically, a family of peasants was dismembered in a very violent way.
Repeat the name of the town, please.
Koyo Nomura. I got you on the sheet here right now.
Nice.
So Koyo Nomura is an unusual town. You know this traveling to it, in that it is split evenly on the borderlands between the lion and the crane. So the lion have their own daimyo, their own lord, and they see to affairs on the west side of the river, and the crane do the same to the east side of the river. You guys have heard that this village has switched hands several times over the past couple of centuries, as the lion and the crane are eternal rivals and they're always at war with one another. But as of now, for the past couple of decades, it has been at an uneasy peace here. And you have been sent here by your Emerald Magistrate to basically see to this. There's not that many Emerald Magistrates in the Empire, so they employ lots of deputies to go see to the smaller affairs that they don't feel are necessarily worth their time or effort. So that is what you are on your way to Koyo Nomura to do. And on your way, you each get a letter at some point on the way. So I'm going to give these to each of you secretly. So let's see. Brian, you are playing the Kakita, correct?
Yeah, Kakita, correct. I'm actually changing my name right now. And
awesome.
What's your first name gonna be?
So
Rita is not allowed. Rita. I'm not saying Rita Kakita for an entire game.
Show. Excellent.
Yeah. Most
people will probably address you by your family name because it's the polite thing to do. So generally speaking, if someone says, "Hey, Kakita," it's not a rude nickname thing. It's I'm not personable enough for you to use your first name, so they use your family name. So if you guys look in your handouts section on Roll20, you should each have a secret letter addressed to you. This is something that was given to you on your way when the person writing it heard that you were heading to Koyo Nomura. So if you guys want to read and digest those, and you can obviously keep those for reference. So let me know when you've had the chance to do that.
So where is that again?
So on Roll20, on the top right, you have the dialogue window there, and then
yes,
the newspaper.
The newspaper. Okay,
it's the newspaper.
Yes, I see it. Thank you. good.
Alrighty.
I'm getting there. Sorry, I'm taking it. I'm good now.
Okay.
I'm good.
Excellent. Awesome. So yeah, and obviously you guys can refer back to that, but that is something that was addressed to each of you, so it's not something that all of you would have seen. So yeah, you guys are actually headed in from the west side, the Lion territory, and you come and crest over this hill, and you see Koyo Nomura on the banks of this river beneath you. So why don't we go around, and you guys can each introduce your character, describe what their name is, how they look, obviously their appearance and everything, and then we will get rolling. Whoever wants to go first.
I can go first. Give me 1 second.
Excellent.
I'm gonna sort of cheat on what he looks like.
Okay.
and from the legacy of disaster, the free whatever.
Yeah.
There's your typical lion bushi. I like that he's wearing furs. So he's not a bushi. He is he's a berserker.
Mm-hmm.
But he's going to be wearing the woven armor and the furs.
Is he older? Is he younger?
Oh,
what age is he?
Why don't we call him, given his skills, he's pretty set in his ways. Let's call him about 35.
Okay.
His face is a bit lined, a bit weathered, and he's probably been serving the Emerald Magistrate for the last, how many years would you say, Tanner?
Could be. It's kind of up to you. People rotate through assignments a lot, but sometimes if a magistrate likes them, that they'll stay in the service for 10, 15 years.
Let's say 10 years. Probably
Awesome.
thinking about retirement about 5 years from now.
Yeah. Does he have any like visible scars on him or anything, or is he kind of untested in battle?
Given his techniques, yeah, he's got some scars, and I'd say he gained most of his scars in duels because he's not the best duelist. So he's probably lost. He's probably lost a lot of duels to First Blood.
Yeah.
But he's also won a lot of like skirmish battle type things.
What's the most visible scar that he has that someone would be able to see on him?
Ooh, I'm gonna say his forearm, his right forearm, his lead hand on his sword. He's lost a lot of First Blood duels on the back of his hand.
Yeah.
And you know what? Let's give him he has an accidental, what we would consider a straight edge.
Yeah.
He took two separate wounds across the back of his hand in duels years apart, and he has a big straight edge X on the back of his right hand.
That's going to be a tough reputation to shake when that's the first thing anybody sees about him.
Yep.
Yeah. Awesome. So Brian, who is your character and what do they look like?
So I am Sho Kakita. I'm younger. I'm guessing about, I would say about 23. I do have a scar, one on the bridge of my nose, but that's the one that you would notice first. While I'm a duelist, I haven't necessarily been in a tremendous number of duels, but I'm sort of a hardline guy who's tough, but not as tough as I eventually, hopefully, will be as I age. I kind of look like Usagi Yojimbo, but not a rabbit.
Gotcha. Okay.
So
skinny, spry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah. So that's, I guess, how I would describe Sho.
Awesome. A lot of the Crane clan have their hair dyed white. Does he buy into that, or does he keep his hair natural?
I think you'd probably buy into it.
Yeah. Okay. It's the height of fashion, after all.
Yeah.
All these other clans need to catch up. Alrighty. Awesome. Mike, what does Yasuki look like?
I'm Yasuki Yoshiro, and I'm a little bit older, and I've got a bit of a receding hairline, kind of a perpetually jovial face. I just kind of have a general, welcoming nature to me of wanting to entreat and build courteous relations with myself and the court that I serve.
Awesome. Excellent. Is there anything else you want to say about your character? You might have a lot of scars. You are, after all, from the Crablands. Is there anything else that is sort of noteworthy about your character that people would see at first glance?
Probably that if you pay attention long enough, my jovialness belies a deeper sense of I guess, fortitude and trying to be aware, trying to look through things to find. What am I trying to say? I'm doing terrible at this.
No, like he has sort of a disarming personality, but it's like intentionally disarming.
Yes, thank you. That's
Okay.
exactly what I was trying to get to.
It's like
Excellent.
Columbo.
Yeah.
Yes,
God,
yes,
God,
good,
I love
yes.
how you like can't make a character in this game that isn't a sociopath. Awesome. So, you guys, like I said, are coming in from the west into the village of Koyo Nomura, and it is getting to be late summer, and the leaves are just starting to turn, and you can see these brilliant red oak trees, these Japanese oaks and maples, or I should say Rokugani oaks and maples, obviously showing off their colors. And you do see another source of red as you enter the town. Adjacent to the lion building sort of at the edge of town, you see several red and black tents that are set up there. Some of them are very, very grand, draped with red and black silk. These are clearly not necessarily like your hard-wearing, like, traveling tents. These are tents befitting of someone who is of quite some status. And they are on your side of the river as you enter into town. So, as you guys enter into town, you talk past the guards, and they check your papers, and you are allowed entrance into the western side of Koyo no Mura. So, the one last thing I'll say is that it's customary to present yourself to either the village headman or the daimyo of the village when you enter. So that is something that would be on your character's minds, but you are certainly free to go and do as you please. So, what would you guys like to do?
I think we should present ourselves to the head of town.
Sure.
Alrighty, so you manage to you walk around for a moment, and you flag down a peasant, and they bring you to the village headman, who is he's a peasant man. He's sort of the peasant mayor of the village. He's skinny, he's gaunt, he's probably in his late 40s, but he looks like he could be 60. And he bows profusely to you and introduces himself to you, and he says, "Noble Yoriki, my name is Takeshi. I am the headman of the village here in Koyo Nomura. It is a pleasure to receive you." And the whole time he's talking to you, his eyes are down. He is not making eye contact with the three of you. And you guys can look around, and you can see there's a lot of hustling and bustling in this town, more than you would expect for sort of a podunk border town. He says, "What brings you to the village?"
And we haven't talked about roles, guys, but Mike, I was imagining as you put it, Courtier, you're doing most of the talking. And without, you guys would know my character well enough to know that he's not going to speak to a peasant. I've got a disadvantage that I'm going to play.
And I have to apologize. I may be lost in my headcanon exactly why we're here, other than our secret missions.
A peasant family was dismembered.
Yep, a peasant family was murdered here.
Okay, sorry, my bad. Thank you for your welcoming entrance. We're here to investigate the dismemberment, the beheading of the peasant at this village.
And as you casually mention violence like so many samurai do, you can see his face just goes like pale, completely white, and he like starts shaking. He says, yes. Have you eaten? Would you like some tea, or would you like me to show you directly to Matsu-sama, the daimyo of the village?"
I don't want to speak on behalf of my associates, but I have no need for refreshment.
He kind of like eyes the two of you, and
I'm not in agreement.
Oh, Oroku grunts. He's not going to be out-toughed by a courtier. If the courtier doesn't need refreshment, neither does the lion.
Yeah, he nods after an awkwardly long pause, as none of you else want to talk to the peasant, and
He's just trying to play it.
No, that's good.
He grunts.
That's good.
He grunts and nods like no. He indicates non-verbally that he doesn't need refreshment.
And he he wordlessly turns, and he starts leading you towards the daimyo's estate. So there's a large estate. It's not quite a castle, but it's a large, basically almost like a compound of multiple buildings walled in with a garden. And he as he approaches, he says, "This is where the lion daimyo Matsu Genzo has his residence, and it may be wise. I do not wish to impose upon you, samurai-sans, but it may be wise to introduce yourselves to the crane daimyo on the other side of the river as well when you get a chance. One thing you should know: there has been some commotion in the daimyo's estate. I'm not sure if." And you can see as he's sort of leading you up there, at the entrance to the garden, you see there's probably a half dozen samurai in full battle armor, which is kind of unusual in this area. You're in the middle of a small village, and they're all sort of standing and milling around the daimyo's garden. Are you guys just going to follow the peasant to the lord, or would you like to? You can sneak a peek if you would like, maybe.
I think these are lion samurai, right? Lion bushi.
Correct. Yep.
Yeah, Matsu would stop and take a look and see what they're equipped for. Like, are they gonna get on horseback? Is it by foot? Is it an honor guard? What's going on? These
guys look like guards. They're definitely lower rank than you. They're a lot of them are probably like between 16 and 20 years old, like late teenagers. And they all have spears and swords on them. You would guess that these are guards, like guard duty. These aren't the guys that you're going to send in to rile anybody up or anything.
Got it. With that looks, I'm probably lingering, and then I'll catch back up to Yasuki to be presented.
Awesome. So you guys are brought into this meeting chamber, and tea is served to you as you see a large, regal lion man. He's clearly dressed very nicely in golden silk. He has big, sort of wiry mutton chops that that are hanging out, and you can see by his insignia, and he introduces himself as Matsu Genzo, the daimyo of the lion side of Koyo Nomura. Additionally, inside the room with him, he is sort of seated at the head of the room, and he has two others with him as well. A younger girl, she's probably between 15 and 16 years old, you would guess, but also very regally dressed. And you also see a man, a lion bushi, who appears to have quite a bit of... he looks like he could be a veteran, although he is quite young. He's probably the age of Kakita here. And Matsu Genzo, of course, you guys wait for him to speak first, and he says, "Welcome to the village of Koyo Nomura, Yoriki. It is a pleasure to meet all of you. However, I wish we were meeting on better circumstances, certainly. How did the road treat you?"
It treated us well, as well as did Takeshi, your peasant village, who presented us to you.
Yes, Takeshi is a good man. There aren't many good peasants out there, but he's done his job admirably. I would like to introduce to you, this is my youngest daughter, Matsu Kikyo, and he sort of gestures his hand to her, and she silently nods. And this is my my son, Matsu Oda, and the man also sort of gives you guys a nod. Can
you repeat her name one more time? I'm sorry.
Yep, I actually have them all up in Roll20 here for you. So
yeah,
I'm popping.
That's actually really awesome. Just to call out on this, that you've got icons for each of the players with the names, so I don't have to sit here and take notes. That is awesome.
Somehow I'm missing that.
It's to the right of the map.
Oh,
if you zoom out, yeah.
Well, holy crap!
I know. Look at that.
Yeah. Otherwise, this game devolves quickly once you can't remember anybody's name.
I mean, you can see what I'm doing. I'm getting notes.
Excellent.
All right. Awesome.
I fear that the situation has developed since I was informed that you were on your way. Just this morning, we have learned that a lion samurai was found killed, as well as the peasants from 2 days earlier.
What was what appeared to be the nature of the murder? Did it appear to be ritualistic or a part of a duel, or?
We are not quite sure. We only discovered the body a few hours ago, and we knew you were on the way, so we decided to leave everything as it was for you to conduct your investigations, Yoriki. One thing I will mention, I'm sure that you are doing your best to obviously be the most forthright with your investigation, but My daughter here, Kikyo, her wedding is in 2 nights hence. And obviously, I'm sure you can see our noble Scorpion host is here to, and she will be marrying into the clan of the Scorpion. I would like this matter to be resolved before the wedding of my daughter, or else it will be quite an ill omen to start a new family with. Do you understand?
So she's marrying into the Scorpion clan?
Correct, yes. A noble young suitor, Yogo Kojima, he is here, and along with his retinue for a few days to have her be wed in the lands of the Lion, and then he will take her back to the lands of the Scorpion.
What was the name of the samurai who was murdered this morning?
He thinks for a moment.
No problem. Take your time.
His name was Matsu Okoma. He was a young fellow, and we are most troubled by the fact that his murder occurred basically on the back porch of this estate. Clearly somebody wants something from us, so in lieu of looking worried about it, we are going to let you see to your expertise, Yoriki.
And was he revered in this town? Was he of highly known status? If I go onto the street and tell people Matsu Okoma was murdered, would they react poorly to that, or say, who is he?
Probably the latter. I do not wish to denigrate the name of any of our fallen brethren, but he was a lad barely past his coming-of-age ceremony. He had not yet made a name for himself, and for that I am sad.
Okay.
Of course, my estate is yours to use if you need to ask questions of anybody involved. I'm sure that you will conduct yourselves with the utmost honor.
So, Matsu, since this is a lion daimyo, as we take our leave, I'm going to bow especially deeply and say something like, it's a shame to see a sword broken before it's even been tempered. We'll take care of this.
Indeed. And he, as you guys are looking to rise, he sort of shoots a look to his 2 children in the room, and he sort of gives them a hand wave, and they nod, and they rise and leave the room before you do. As the 2 of them walk by, Yasuki, I guess you're probably in front, sort of more talking to the daimyo, but Kakita, as they are walking by, you get a whiff as they go by of the most very foul body odor, like gym locker room BO as they go by, and you do see as the young woman Kikyo is walking by. Can you make me either an etiquette or an investigation roll for me?
Let's see here. Etiquette 5K3, investigation 3K2. So that is what, 5d10?
Yep. So you can use your macro there. So just do 5 and then 3.
Okay.
Wow, that's a good roll.
Nice.
Okay, so yeah, 28.
Awesome. So as she walks by, I mean, you are a man of fashion. You know sort of what the current state of fashion in the Empire is, and you know that the Lion are often sort of misinformed in that. But the way that the
I'm
amount,
wearing a cat shirt, so I'm
it's role playing. You don't have to be. It's okay. As she walks by, you know that even the Lion would be appalled to have that much makeup caked on their face as she does. It is customary for samurai women to sort of powder their faces, but she kind of went overboard on it, and you were like, even Lion know that this is a bad look.
So, Brian, we're being quiet because we don't know this. So,
okay.
Just to be clear, this falls in your court.
So so I noticed that. I think it's funny, but I don't necessarily doesn't necessarily register anything other than just look absurd.
It might
At
be
the
the
moment.
combination of the makeup and the BO though, because that happened as they walked by. That's a weird vibe to you.
Okay. So
Obviously, yours to do with what you wish.
okay, have we walked out yet? Or we
Yeah,
already walked-
Yeah, Matsu Genzo, he rises and he sort of escorts you out, and he looks like as you walk by, he says, "Please take your time and meet us in the back garden when you are ready to investigate the scene."
Okay.
And then he leaves you alone.
So I guess we're standing outside, waiting, conversing. So what do the three of us think right now?
Well, I think we need to go investigate the samurai who was murdered, since there's basically a fresh crime scene for us to check out.
Yeah, we need to get there pretty fast.
We've got a body to look at. We've got a lot of people to talk to.
I caught a strong whiff of the one those that walked out. It was rather peculiar.
What do you mean?
That is. What do you mean? Yep.
Well, I mean, so if they were the children of the daimyo, right? Yeah, I mean that's odd that they would, have it's a barbaric stench. I would expect more of,
They wouldn't have cleaned themselves for us.
yeah, than
Yeah.
the children of the lion daimyo. So that's kind of odd.
That is. Did you notice anything else odd?
The way that she had been made up was just absurd. In the amount of makeup that she was wearing, it was unbecoming.
Interesting.
So Matsu's going to shake his head and literally just go, "Scorpions."
That's where his thought process is at right now.
That's where he's at right now.
All right. And as you walk into the back garden, above the garden wall, you can see those black and red tents perched outside of town.
So together.
As you enter the back garden, you do see there is a man, a samurai, who is clad in armor, and he is prone on the ground, and there is blood all over the cedar floor of the porch to this garden. He looks like he's in a bad state, and as you guys approach, you can see the lion guardsmen that you saw before. They sort of part ways and form a semicircle as you guys enter the back garden.
And because I've listened to Shadow of the Cabal early episodes, I know not to touch corpses. That's very dishonorable.
Yeah.
Correct. Yep. So, and that is something that all of your characters would know as being a dishonorable action. If you desire, you could have someone fetch an Eta, which are basically the lowest of the low peasants, and they're basically like the undertakers. And if you so desire, you can command one to manipulate the body for you if you'd like.
My investigation is not as good as Yasuki's, but I would still like to roll an investigation. I think since I'm familiar with skirmishes, I'm specifically looking at his armor to see, was he in a fight? Are there any new shiny scrapes on his armor where he tried to defend himself? That kind of thing. Yeah,
awesome. You know what? You can actually roll Kenjutsu if you want, because it does look like a sword fight happened, and you might be able to piece pieces of it together here.
Okay. 5, keep 2. 17.
Okay. So you can see that clearly this wouldn't even take a roll. He was killed with 3 blows from a weapon. One cut through the armor on his shoulder pad. So if you imagine the big samurai shoulder pads they have, one was cleft right through. That is one of his wounds. One split his helmet in 2, basically at the crown of his head. And also his left arm is nearly severed at the forearm. And with your roll, as you look at the grisly side of his forearm, you look at the scars on the back of your hand, and you would recognize that this is a wound sustained as he tried to draw his sword. And you can see his sword is, I mean, obviously he's fallen, but his sword is like half out of its sheath, but it is laying there. You would know.
I relay all that.
You would know, obviously, as a person who does use a large, heavy sword, this looks congruent with wounds that you've seen probably yourself inflict on people.
So this is like
battle.
this is a nodachi or a daikatana, not a katana.
Or it could be like an axe, or even like a long pole arm with a blade. It's clearly some sort of heavy two-handed edged weapon. There's no crushing wounds. They're all cuts.
So I'm probably Mike, I'm probably Yasuki, keeping a running commentary as I walk around the body. I'm like pointing these things out and kind of stream of consciousness, sharing all that. So you're aware of all that.
Okay.
And the guards are just like completely in awe as you are just like going around casing this joint. They're all just like, yeah, it must be it. Yeah. Do you guys have any other questions you want to look at the scene here?
Is this just like an open area that anyone would have been able to walk into, or are there obvious points of entry and exit?
This is a walled garden, and this is the back porch of a walled garden. So presumably this dude was on guard duty. You look around, the walls aren't very tall. They're maybe, I mean, you guys are all kind of short folks to us, obviously, but the walls are maybe 8 or 9 feet high. So definitely somebody who is athletic could have hopped up and over them. Maybe not Yasuki. Yasuki, you might have had trouble with that, but these other two, Matsu and Kakita, you think that you could probably haul yourself up and over if you were dedicated.
I look in the direction of the red and black tents. Is it a fairly direct path?
Yeah. Well, I take that back. Not really, because the estate is sort of near the middle of town. There's a direct little street and alleyway that leads to the red and black tents, but you're not on the edge of town where you are right now.
I would want to walk over and look at that part of the wall.
Yeah,
Sure.
That's what I was going to do.
Let's do
Can
it.
I do an investigate on that part of the wall?
Absolutely.
Sorry, I mumbled to myself when
No, it's okay.
I'm figuring things out.
And I'm turning my video off every time I take a bite of something.
That's okay. We don't want that blackmail material.
Yep. And I rolled an 18.
Awesome. Looking around, you don't find anything, but you are confident that there is nothing to be found.
Okay.
So you don't feel like you're missing anything. You did a pretty good job. I mean, if you imagine these gardens, there's sort of gravel and sand in them. They're kind of like Zen gardens, and there's really not even footprints over here.
Wow.
Or if there was, they would have raked over them, but behind themselves or something like that. But it doesn't look like anything like that has happened.
So
I'm
I feel
starting to worry.
confident in saying whoever did this made sure they left no trace of who they were, how they came in.
So I have an intelligence of 3. I'm worried. I got worried for a minute, Tanner, that I was playing my guy too smart. If I do that,
That's okay.
stop me. The one last thing I'd want to check. So
2, I will say 2 is an average. Like an average human is a 2. So 3, you're above average.
Oh,
okay.
Okay.
So above average. Not trying to be too smart, but looked at the wounds, looked at a possible point of entry, ruled that out. Now I'd want to see where could an intruder have been going. So from the wall gardens into the rest of the compound, I'd want to draw Yasuki's attention to that area.
Sure. Do you want to make another roll?
Yeah.
Awesome.
$19.
Excellent. So over the next couple minutes, you sort of walk around through the compound and around, and even maybe talk to some of the guardsmen and peasants and everything. Like I said, the area that like you found between the wall and where the scorpion are camped, you did not see any signs of entry in that area. And going around, nobody remembers seeing anything. Nothing is missing. There's no doors that were slid open. You come to the conclusion that whoever came in here hopped over the wall, came in here, killed that samurai, and then left.
Weird. So they weren't trying to get in. Okay.
Yeah, and I mean, Rokugan doors aren't locked. I mean, they're paper screens. You could walk through one if you wanted to. So, but there were no signs of anything broken or busted inside there. As you're looking around, I guess how far are you extending your search? Are you like not demanding? Are you imposing to like look in people's private quarters and things like that, or are you basically just trying to stay where the public would be allowed in the estate?
I think for now we're staying in public areas, as we
Okay.
don't really have any leads to impose ourselves on anyone's privacy.
Sure.
Yeah,
and
we had a lead. That makes sense.
Yeah, and certainly nobody invites you to any of the private areas as you look around. They sort of steer you to the more like, here's the meeting room, here's the latrine area, here's this, here's that, and they show you to all the common areas and everything like that, but none of the sort of more interior parts of the estate.
When we were in with,
oh, go ahead.
Sorry, when we were in with the daimyo, is there a scorpion presence in this daimyo's compound right now?
Not that you see, no.
Okay. Then I would feel free to make the comment to Yasuki and Kakita that, when it comes to scorpions, a lack of evidence speaks volumes.
Interesting.
I would like to ask around if anyone knew this samurai personally who had a personal relationship with him and knew kind of his goings on in his personal life.
Sure. I mean, you talk to the other guards that are there on the porch, and they basically give you the same story that Matsu Genzo does, in that, I mean, he was a new recruit. He wasn't from around here. He got basically assigned here by his lord, transferred his vassalship here. He hadn't been in the town for more than a couple months. You don't get the sense that there was any real connection or this guy was involved in any drama or anything. And he was only, like I said, 16 or 17 years old, so he wasn't. You don't think he? You like to keep track of how people make enemies as a courtier. You don't think that this guy is the type to have made anybody's enemy unless there's something really out of left field going on.
Okay. And I just share between these two guys. It's very odd that he would be the only one in the court murdered. I wonder if he found some damning evidence in relation to the other murder, and that made him a target of whoever's behind these killings.
Let's go see if those peasants were killed with heavy weapons.
Yeah, I think that's our next step. Yep.
Sure. So, I imagine you guys find Takeshi again. He's basically waiting outside the estate, and he informs.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
We totally forgot the whole crane daimyo thing.
Yeah,
I haven't gotten that far yet.
Yeah, you haven't even crossed the river yet, so
Okay,
that is something that you can do if you'd like.
Where
were the peasants?
Which side of the river were the peasants killed on?
They were killed on the west side of the river, on the side that you're on, the lion side.
Do we want to go investigate the peasant first and then introduce ourselves to the crane daimyo, or we're on the side of town?
Potentially on the way.
And we might want to be a little bit clean. Like, the lion are okay with road dirt. The crane might be a little fussier. and I would, when I say fussier, I would look directly at Kakita and wink. Like, I'm teasing you, but we're
yes, yeah.
Your work buddies, yeah.
All right, so then let's ask Takeshi to go introduce us to the crane daimyo.
Awesome.
Wait.
Yeah.
Oh,
sorry, I thought we were doing the peasants first, and then refresh ourselves, and then crane.
Are we? Oh, okay. Sorry, I misinterpreted that. Yeah, let's do the peasants first.
Alrighty. So, Takeshi, he stays quiet, but he leads you towards the estate that, or not the estate, I should say, the hovel where these peasants were killed. And as on the way, he explains to you, they were killed. He thinks to himself, the night before last, I believe. So their remains have already been cremated, but we have left the state of the crime scene intact for you. I hope that that is conducive towards your investigation, Samurai-sans. And as you sort of get into and as you sort of get into the grungier side of town where all the peasant hovels are, you see there are 4 men standing around smoking pipes, and they wear very brown and gray drab kimonos. They would be peasants if it weren't for the fact that you saw they each have 2 swords on their hip. These are clearly Ronin. You can see as they walk by, they sort of all give you the hairy eyeball, but they don't really say anything to you, and they sort of, as you walk by at your closest point, the lead one, this youngish guy with a really wicked scar going down his face, he spits on the ground as you walk by.
I don't appreciate that.
Is this like a Romeo and Juliet bite your thumb at us, sir? Like, is he trying to give offense but subtly?
Probably, yeah.
I mean,
That-
the Worf. So I'm playing this guy. I'm kind of thinking of him in a very Worf-like way. Unless one of you guys stops him, he's probably gonna like point at the guy and say, "Bite your tongue, dog."
I think I would like to. I'm not exactly sure how my etiquette skill works, but I think I'd like to make an etiquette roll against this guy to remind him of the proper respect of,
Sure.
people in public.
That's actually more of a courtier role. So etiquette is usually more of the passive or defensive social skill. If you want something out of somebody or to manipulate someone or to zing them with something, that's courtier. Or you could do intimidation too.
So
These guys are beneath you.
So this might be a good chance for me to clarify what does the courtier skill do and what does the etiquette skill do?
So courtier, if you want, when it comes down to it, courtier is the offensive social skill. It's to offensively get something out of somebody, ply someone for information, or insult them. Etiquette is the defensive thing, and it's also the sort of way to notice things or to know the right thing to do in a situation.
Okay, I would like to make an etiquette roll against him to kind of try to infer what his intent is and what would be the best way to react to it to prevent my friends from getting swords out.
Absolutely.
So you saw me like kind of pause and because you know me so well, you step between me and the Ronin.
Yep.
Cool.
And I rolled a 30.
Nice, awesome.
Holy crap.
I assume that's a crit in this game. Is that as high as it goes?
You didn't call a raise.
No, it's okay. You got the information that you needed to. So, these guys are Ronin. They're beneath you. They know that they probably have a resentment towards clan samurai, which is what the three of you are, and they're probably seeing, oh, these guys are on a job. This is my chance to take a subtle dig at them. You do find it curious that these guys are hanging out in the peasant part of town. They're not at an inn or something like that. And from what you know of weddings and wedding ceremonies and festivals and celebrations, you would guess this town is probably full up of samurai. Like anybody who they would have kicked these dudes out of the inn to make room for the scorpion or something like that. So this town has a lot of guests and influx of population currently. And these Ronin are probably the stray dogs that are getting kicked to the backyard. And they're probably angry about that and hold some resentment towards you. They might not even know that you guys aren't from this village, to be honest.
Are any of them carrying heavy weapons?
No, they are all just their two swords on each of them.
Nice show.
Yep.
All right. So, having been interrupted, I cooler heads prevail, and I calm down, and I'm ready to move on.
All right. And they, you can hear some murmuring behind you as you guys head towards the peasant hovel. So, he kind of shows you in. It's a small building made of sort of mud, brick, and thatch, basically. And he pushes the thatch door open, and although there are no bodies in here, there is still quite a lot of dried brown and black blood. It looks like there are some things overturned in the room. There was clearly some sort of struggle in here. If you guys want to roll investigation or just describe what you're looking at in the room, we can do that as well.
Yeah, I'd like to do an investigation check of the entry points to the room.
Excellent. Yep. Go ahead and give me a roll.
And after you do that, Mike, or Kakita, I'll investigate the signs of the scuffle.
Okay. Excellent.
And I rolled a 25.
25. You do know that so the things that are broken in the room, it doesn't appear to be that like there is a hidden chest or sack of money that was taken. Again, these people probably had nothing but the clothes on their back and the stuff that they had in their home. Obviously there's like pots and pans and stuff like that, but you don't really see signs of anything being intentionally like smashed up or anything. Like it was an the classic like view of the extortion, like we'll smash up your home or whatever. It doesn't look like that. It looks like there was just signs of violence in here. And then Dusty, you wanted to look at the signs of the scuffle?
Yep. So I'll just roll investigation.
Yeah, you can roll investigation, or you can roll that.
I figured it might not be Kenjutsu since they're peasants.
That's true. Yeah. So go ahead and give me investigation then.
18. So I'm looking. What I'm mostly looking for, though, are like I'm hoping for any nicks in the wood where I can see.
Sure. Yeah. Yep, and like I said, this room isn't. There's not a lot of wood in
Oh
here.
yeah,
It's like
the mud.
thatch. Yeah.
Yeah.
So as you're walking around, this is sort of a lower ceiling than you expect, and you look up and you see there's a large gash in the ceiling thatch above, and you can see there's clearly they had like some stuff stored up there, maybe like sacks of rice or something, and there's rice beneath your feet, and you look at your nodachi that you probably have slung over your back, and if you were to deal an overhead cut in a low ceilinged room, this is what it would look like, you think?
I point that out. Yeah, so it's probably connected. I would say it to Yasuki.
Do we know anything about these peasants who were killed, or is there anyone who can give us information on who they were, how they were connected to the town, any recent rumors about them or their family?
Takeshi said it was a husband and wife who lived here. They were both farmers. They farmed rice on the edges of the village, and they would come home every night and be here. So it's not that far away from the estate. Like you're sort of like if the slum area and the estate were here, they were sort of closer to the estate. But Takeshi admits that he's sort of grasping for any connection there when he says that.
How many days ago were they killed, and when did the scorpion arrive?
The scorpion arrived 3 days ago in the morning, and these peasants were found dead in the evening.
Mm-hmm.
Or they were found the next morning, but presumably it happened overnight.
Is the area where they farm the rice anywhere close to the red and black tents where the scorpion are set up?
Not really, no.
Okay, so they probably wouldn't have had any reason to be over in that area by the scorpions, correct?
Correct. And certainly most peasants sort of flee when they see samurai, like as you were walking by, because you, especially Yorkie, you guys, adventuring parties only bring trouble. So a lot of people sort of board up their houses and shutter their windows when samurai walk through.
Okay.
And I'm kind of playing up the whole scorpions are the villains of every story thing.
Yeah.
Just because you're a lion.
Well, yeah, and because I'm not a scorpion, I think everyone does that. But I would say to Yasuki and Kakita, just flat out, I think we're looking for a scorpion with a nodachi or a daikatana.
Takeshi shifts uncomfortably.
Ooh! When he does that, do I see that?
Sure, yeah.
Do you know such a scorpion?
I know very, very few scorpion. Matsu-sama. I was in the same room when Yogo Kojima was introduced to the family, but he is no bushi. He is no warrior.
So I say to Matsu, what would be the motivation of the scorpion? They're about to gain, I would assume, greatly from being married to Matsu Kikyo. So what would be their motivation to kill these peasants and a single samurai guard on the lion side?
Just a clarification, Kikyo is marrying into the scorpion, so she will be presumably Yogo Kikyo in a few days hence.
Okay.
Yeah.
And she'll be leaving.
Yes.
Yeah, they're leaving chaos in their wake.
I think there may be something more complex behind this than just a simple need to sow chaos. But we'll continue to investigate.
All right. So what do we look into next? Oh, we got to present ourselves to the crane.
Yeah, I was about to say, I think this may be wrapped up, so let's go.
Need to wash up.
Get gussied up. Yep.
Sure. So, you guys are taken to back to the lion estate, and as you arrive there, you can see that some Eta have been fetched, and now that you're done with your investigation, they've basically cleaned up the body in the back garden and are scrubbing the floorboards there. And you guys are brought into the private baths, and you spend maybe an hour or two sort of gussying yourself up and washing the road dust off of you. And it is sort of, I imagine you stopped to eat in that time, so it's probably in the early afternoon now as you head towards the side of the crane. So, like I said, I will be sort of keeping track of time here, just for the reason that
We got the 48 hours.
Basically, yeah. So I will be advancing time when it makes sense too. So just keep that in mind. Yeah. So you guys are headed towards the crane side to meet the crane daimyo. Is there anything that you would like to do on the way there, or are you just basically making a beeline for it?
And nothing that seems to have happened, the peasant family, the lion that was killed, nothing seems to have happened on the eastern side. I think whoever's walking us there, Matsu would probably ask a question about, kind of offhanded, he'd be like, is anything crazy happening over here or anything out of the way?
I don't know if it would be my place to say. I wouldn't want to presume any intentions of Samurai. You can tell that he's trying to be cagey. He doesn't want to say anything that'll get him in trouble.
So I would just raise my eyebrows and give a significant look to Yasuki.
Should you want to intimidate him, or do you want me to try and coerce more information out of him?
Sorry, it's just the it's just the something is happening over here kind of look.
Gotcha.
Like keep your eyes peeled type look.
I think with that look, I think I would want to try and make a courtier roll to see if I can't get more information out of him. So basically, I'll say, you seem to know more than you're willing to say. I understand you want to try and keep your place as a peasant headman, but I think whatever information you could give to us would make it much more beneficial for this investigation. And I'll roll.
Before you roll, he says, would my word be safe for fear of retaliation in your arms, Yoriki-sons?
We'll absolutely keep your confidence.
Okay.
Yeah, Matsu, I'd put my hand on his shoulder and say, we're here on behalf of the Empire, not our individual clans.
Yasuki, if you want to make this roll, you do have a disadvantage of failure of compassion, which you have to spend a void point before you're able to bring yourself to act on behalf of someone of lower caste or status or caste. Okay. Is that something that you're willing to do?
Explain to me what that actually means.
So
it means you're an elitist.
Yeah, you're an elitist, and you genuinely do not give a shit about anyone beneath you. So the idea is that you have to spend a void point to even bring yourself to the point where you can say, "Yeah, I definitely care about you," and yeah. So if you want to roll Courtier, you're going to have to do that. If you just want to intimidate him, I'm not going to make you spend that void point because that's clearly a callous way to go about it.
Yeah, let me just do the intimidation roll.
Sure. So you think for a moment and about like trying to play niceties to him, and then you change your mind.
Okay. And I change that tone of, this is necessary for the safety and security of the Empire, and I make that roll.
Okay.
And it's a 22.
Okay. He sort of quakes in fear once you bring the safety of the Empire into it, and he says, on this side of the river, they've been meaning to," and he's saying this as you cross over the bridge, they've mainly kept themselves out of the matter of the wedding as far as I'm concerned, but there is something I didn't tell you when we were on the western side of town. The other night I did hear quite an explosive argument between a man and a woman in the vicinity of the lion side of the town of the Matsu estate. I don't recognize who it was, but it was definitely a man and a woman arguing, and it sounded like it was getting violent.
Were there any, obvious sounds of physical violence? Did you hear anyone screaming or any strikes being delivered?
I made myself scarce as soon as I heard the voices be raised, but I can't rule it out.
I understand.
So my internet dropped out.
Sorry.
So no, not your fault. I hit something. So the voices that were heard screaming, was that on the lion or the crane side of the?
That was on the lion side of the town, and
Okay.
Takeshi kind of mentioned that as you were leaving the lion side of town.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it was near the Matsu estate.
Okay.
And it was a man and a woman, Brian.
Okay. So I'm safe to assume that it's the couple that we just left, or my.
Let's.
think-
Well, we didn't leave a couple, man. We left a brother and sister.
Was it brother
Yeah.
and sister? Oh
It
well.
was a brother
Well,
and
it's a
sister.
couple. It's a couple of people.
That is accurate.
Well, Tanner, you've previously.
No, it's
you
okay.
talked about
That
you being a fan of Game of Thrones. There could be,
it's true. It's true.
there could be some Lannister stuff going on here.
Hey man,
Yeah.
I'm glad I invited you all to my my fetish session. No, I'm sorry. Cut all this.
All right.
Okay, so you guys are headed
By the way,
over.
I'm enjoying this. Thank you for doing this.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So you guys are headed to the east side of town then, and you are presented in front of the Crane Daimyo. He looks very, very strikingly different than the Lion Daimyo does. He's regal, he's older, maybe mid to late 50s even. Wrinkled eyes, his eyes look like almost he has like laugh lines on his face. Very long, white, elegant hair. And he is also there with a younger man and a younger woman, and a woman that's more his age as well. He introduces himself. He says, "My name is Daidoji Tenshu, and I welcome you to this side of Koyo Nomura."
Daidoji.
He motions to the woman sitting next to him, and he says, "This is my wife, Koichi. And this is my niece and nephew, Natsumi and Ryumaru." And he gestures to the both of them as well. I want everybody to make me an investigation roll as you are just sort of scoping out this scene currently.
Okay, sorry, I was still judging.
No, sure, yeah.
And
Take your time.
investigation. Got it.
Yep.
21.
23.
Whatever mine says. 29.
Wow.
So this is something that you would pick up the most on Kakita. You are familiar with the Daidoji family. They are the very traditional warriors of the Crane clan, not the but the sort of the Iron Warriors. That's what they're famous for. You would guess that Natsumi and Ryumaru are both Bushi. They are both the warriors. Koichi and Tenshu don't look like they are. You would guess that they're probably more courtiers or artisans of some sort. They just don't have the athletic build like Natsumi and Ryumaru do. And this is something that's apparent to all of you. You would guess that Natsumi and Ryumaru are twins. They look to be pretty much the same age, and as the daimyo said, they are his niece and nephew.
Okay.
I mean, they're all wearing kimonos, but you can see they're quite heavily muscled.
Yeah.
The two of them.
Muscled enough to wield heavy weapons?
Possibly. There is there is a Matsu dojo in town. So
I'll say this real quick. I'm sorry to make this aside, but I am doing way more Googling during this game about things like Bushi and Daikatana and stuff like that than any other game. I enjoy that.
I don't actually know if Daikatana is different from a Nodachi. I just know about
But Dodachi is what it brought me
John
to.
Carmack's game. Not John Carmack. John Romeo's game.
John Romeo's
Is it
Daikatana.
not
Romero.
make you its bitch?
yeah.
That's a horribly miscalculated game.
Yeah. Yeah, if you have questions on anything, Brian, if you don't feel like Googling, just let me know.
Oh, I love Googling, so
Okay.
but I'll ask. I just don't want to look stupid, so.
Yeah. No, you're fine. Don't worry about that. Yeah, and Yasuki, you notice looking at his wife, Koichi, she is quite a bit younger than him. You would guess that she's probably in her late 20s, early 30s. So she's a younger looking spouse to him. And you can tell by her complexion, she's very pale. She's very frail looking. Maybe you would almost guess that she has like poor nutrition or something like that, but it's weird for a samurai to have poor nutrition, you know? So
Okay.
you wouldn't be surprised if she maybe has some sort of like chronic illness or something along those lines. That's something that you would have seen in your life that would have explained that.
Okay. Okay.
But these are clearly not her kids. Oh, wait, niece and nephew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kids.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, a metagame note, Daidoji were the clan that we played when we
Yeah.
played
Yeah.
in 5th edition.
Yep.
What brings you to the village? I heard there was some nastiness on the other side of the river. I assume that's what this is about.
Yes, indeed. We originally were here to investigate the murder of a few peasants on the lion side of town, and as we arrived yesterday, we found that a lion samurai was also murdered the morning of our arrival. So we are here to investigate that and try and figure out what's happening in this town.
Indeed. Well, we are certainly at your disposal if you have any desire to ask questions. I'm sure that we wish our neighbors on the other side of the river to be quite at peace during this important time. And he gives a smile.
Absolutely. Have you heard anything about the marriage of the scorpion to Matsu Kikyo, or any issues around it?
I know that when the scorpion arrived, they managed to push the Ronin that have been crawling around in this village over to our side as they have been displaced, but we have pushed back.
Can you give us more details of what's happening with the Ronin?
Well, you know how they are. They go from town to town begging for work or money. They're completely dishonorable. They're putting their swords on the line for money rather than their clan's honor, and as such, they are not fit to be in this village. And we managed, after we gave them a chance, but after making fools of themselves in public, we managed to politely, my niece and nephew politely escorted them to the other side of town.
Indeed. Would there be any Roman any Ronin any Ronin you can identify by name who might have been particularly unpleasant?
And at this point, Ryumaru, the young man in the room, he speaks up and he says, "The one with the scar on his face is named Akira. He appears to be the ringleader of those clowns, but his bark is worse than his bite. We did not come to blows, if that is what you are insinuating. We merely politely but sternly asked them to be on their way."
I believe we also ran into him earlier today when we were investigating the peasant atrocity.
Yes, these Ronin, they're stray animals, and they have ways of finding themselves in any situation where they might be in the way. That is the way of all Ronin. But as you can see, I'm sure the village is pretty much full up at capacity, and the Scorpion brought along their entourage with them. And although they mainly stick to the west side of the river, there are still room and board is short. Let us put it that way.
Have you had any run-ins with the visiting Scorpion? Have they been well behaved?
To us, yes, but it is curious that these murders coincided with their arrival, but I would not hazard to speculate at anything.
And did anyone from the Crane clan know anything about the samurai who was murdered today? Matsu Okama.
Daidoji or Tenshu, the Lord, he kind of looks around, and everyone in the room shakes their head, and they say, and then Natsumi speaks up, and she says, "I have never met the man, and it doesn't look like anyone else has either."
Anything you guys want to ask?
I want to ask heavy weapons, but I don't want to tip our hands.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for an opportunity to sound awesome. When
This feels.
At this point, Tenshu, he looks to you, Kakita, and he says, "You are Kakita Sho, are you not?"
I am.
I believe Ryumaru here. I believe he is betrothed to your sister, is he not?
He is. This is true.
You will be family soon, in a way.
In 2 springs hence, yes.
Excellent, excellent. He gives like a very nice, like warm, genuine smile, and Ryumaru just he keeps sort of a sterner look on his face, but you can tell that he's clearly a little bit excited, and he nods as well, and he says, "It will be an honor to call you family someday, Kakita-san."
Indeed.
I don't know what else to say or do, man.
I would like to make a polite mention to Kokichi that she looks like she may be feeling under the weather, and ask how she has been feeling lately.
Sure. That is definitely a rude question, so I'm going to have to ask you to roll for that to play it off politely.
Yeah, I was gonna make an etiquette roll for that.
Excellent. Yeah.
Okay. Boop. I keep hitting the wrong button. $21.
21. You managed to, use your silver tongue, and you're like, oh, there's quite a draft in here, is there not? I heard that this is the type of thing. Koichi, what do you think? Yeah, you managed to segue in it to make it not rude. And, she kind of leans into her elbow and she coughs for a couple moments before responding, and she says, "Oh no, I have had this constitution for some time now, since I was just a young woman, so this is my normal pallor. I don't have to use quite as much makeup as the rest of the Crane girls do." And she kind of plays off your very rude question with a smile.
Okay.
So while I'm here, I want to do a fashion check. So
Yes, that's a good sentence to say in a role-playing game.
Yes. So I'll roll my investigation. Let me get back to my
Sure. Is there anything in particular you're looking for?
So I had this in the lion, the daimyos, the lion's daimyo. I had that odd sensation when I came across something. Just wanting to see if anything comes to mind. So
Sure.
5, keep 3. Macro. 5, 3. And go back here. 17. Do I notice anything odd or out of place?
You do. So not something that's out of place, but you recognize something that is in place. You look at her sleeve of her kimono, and Rokugani laundry technology is not super advanced. You can see that there are stains in her sort of where she would be coughing. You would think that, she didn't cough up blood just now, but you think it is possible that is something that has occurred. And maybe like in the past it has been washed. Maybe you would guess maybe she goes through like cycles of being better or worse, but this is sort of obviously some sort of like respiratory or physical condition that she has, and that would support her claim that this is something that she's lived with for a long time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I wish I knew that. I've got a perfect thing to say to that, but oh well. I do want to. I don't think it's a roll or anything, but are the niece and nephew, are they armed right now?
They have their wakizashis in their belts, and they have their katanas set aside in the room. But you can clearly tell it's theirs. They're just not wearing their weapons right now because that'd be a little rude when it came to meet you guys. Yeah.
Okay.
But it's not that hard for you to figure out that these are probably their swords in the corner.
At some point, well, you know what? So before we totally leave the crane and go talk to the scorpions, I think I'd want to leave the door open for seeing who can do what with a great sword later. And
Sure.
I probably should have done this earlier. So I might try to make a polite inquiry to say, it would be an honor to practice against Daidoji. I've had many wonderful practice duels with my friend Kakita here.
Ryumaru kind of looks at his sister and then looks back to you, and he says, "Yes, if there is time, I would certainly be willing to spar with you, Matsu-san."
I'll consider that a thing to do if convenient.
Excellent. And he gives a smile. He's like, "Oh, maybe these line aren't so bad."
Cool.
Yep.
All right. I think I'm done.
Yeah.
Alrighty, so you guys
I feel like we're missing so much. I feel like we're speeding through and missing a lot.
You're doing fine. Don't worry about it.
All right. Scorpion next.
Yeah, let's go see the Scorpion.
Do we want to? So in this interaction here, right? So the cool thing I was going to say to her would be to suggest that she visit Lion Lands in Winter Court for the drier climate. But we can't do that. I don't want to do the metagame thing at all, but we especially can't do that in front of the Scorpion. So do we want to have kind of a game plan amongst ourselves before we go before the Scorpion?
Yeah, I will say all three of your clans are the three that traditionally, I mean, everyone thinks of the Scorpion as a villain, but your three clans especially just have nothing nice to say about them. So this wouldn't be out of character for your clans of like, we're going to go talk to some Scorpion. We got to get our shit straight before they are able to turn that against us. So that is totally in character for you guys to do.
Like what do we want to ask them? What are our goals? What are we trying to get out of this interaction?
Yeah, I think that's a good conversation to have. I certainly distrust the Scorpion, but I don't see a motive. I don't see a reason that they would go through with this. I think there's still something here that we're missing. So I definitely don't want to go into the Scorpion camp all accusatory.
Agree. So what do we want to do? I mean, I tell you what I want to do, and I would say this in character. I want to look for Scorpions wielding great weapons.
I think that's fair.
That's thing number one that I'm looking for. And then we didn't ask the Lion this, but what do the Scorpion get by coming all the way here to get where's her name?
Koichi?
To get Koichi and then go all the way back to where they're
Kikyo.
from.
Kikyo.
Yeah.
Like what are they getting out of this? And a polite way to ask that might be a Courtier thing for you to go after. But
that might be something that you guys could chat amongst yourselves and figure out too, like, especially with like etiquette or something like that. You might understand like why would this marriage be arranged. So if someone wants to roll that, you certainly can. That might not be something that you have to ask out loud.
What role would that be? Would that just be investigation?
An etiquette or like a history or something like that. If there's any skill that is jumping out on your sheet that you feel like would be...
I've got lore. History.
Is that history? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I can do an etiquette roll. Why don't you roll it, Dusty?
Yeah.
All right.
Dusty, you can get a bonus on this. You can get a 1K1 bonus on this because it is specifically about lion marriages, and that is something that you understand the motives of that maybe better than these two would. So I'll give you a bonus on that. Or I'll reduce the TN on it. So go ahead and just give me a roll with what you got.
3K2 then. Oops. 3K2. Oh, crap. I actually typed 3K2. It's going to fail. Yeah, it failed. All right, hang on.
Pathetic.
My own macro. All right, 3K2.
Wow. 20. That was awesome. That was a great roll. So specifically the Lion's business is war, right?
Mm-hmm.
War is
the Klingons of the Rokugan.
Absolutely. But Lion, despite how practical and useful they are, Lion aren't cool with things like assassinations or sabotage or something being something that's on their plate. Right?
Yeah, that's Romulan or Scorpion stuff.
Yeah, Romulans, yeah. So the idea maybe that you would guess is these Lion probably have a war in mind, which is not unusual. They probably always have a war planned. And they're trying to secure an alliance to the Scorpion so that the Scorpion can probably do some dirty work that the Lions don't want to do themselves, or get caught doing themselves, rather. That's a fairly solid speculation that you can make.
That's...
Okay. Yeah.
So then would it be an unfair assumption that this specific Lion estate is trying to align itself with the Scorpion against the Crane to push the Crane out?
That is not unreasonable. The Lion are always trying to push the Crane out of somewhere.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I would share that probably unwisely, but then I would point out, let's not forget that the victims here have all been lying.
Yeah, that's a good
We're
point.
the victims here. Me, the samurai.
Yeah.
No one has a heart than me. Yeah. I mean, you're a little bit disappointed that a Matsu would ally themselves with a scorpion, but you're not surprised. It might be out of character for the Matsu to do, but not something that's completely out of left field.
So I'd roll my eyes at it and be like, can't you do this in open battle, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
Spoken like a classic grunt.
Yeah.
Alrighty, so you guys are oh yeah, if there's any game plan you guys want to make, feel free.
Kakita, I feel like we're ignoring you a lot. So Yasuki is looking for sorry, I keep coughing. I'm looking for great weapons. Yasuki was trying to figure out some motive stuff, but we already talked through that. What about you, Kakita? What are you looking for on the Scorpion side?
So
Or camp, I mean.
Yeah, I mean, I just have this vague sense of that. Again, there's something that we're not putting our fingers on, and I'm just trying to. I can't shake just exactly like you said a minute ago that we're missing something obvious, and I'm just specifically looking for things that just don't make sense or are incongruous, and nothing specific, but I'm just Brian. I'm just trying to think through, like, what are we missing, and how could we come across it. So right now we are are we still at the daimyos? Have we left?
You're basically just walking through town right now, yeah. Or yeah, you are leaving the daimyos, because you'd have to go back over to the other side of the river and then out of town to get to the Scorpion. So presumably this conversation could be had while walking through town.
I'm going to do one last thing on the Crane side of the river. I'm going to announce in true Clean Line fashion. I need a sake to fortify myself before we talk to these Scorpions. And I'm going to look for... It's the Crane side, so everything's going to be nice and hoity-toity. But I'm going to look for like a tea house, sake house, whatever, that is just reputable enough that it's okay that I'm there, but I'm looking to make some statements and get some gossip about, is anything going on this side of the river?
Absolutely, you can definitely do that. So if you want to detour for like an hour or so and get you guys, is that just a Matsu thing, or is everybody going to hang out and do that?
I would announce it, but I announce it in a way where clearly I'm saying, like, I'm going to go to lunch. Like, if you guys want to come, you're welcome.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Definitely.
Excellent. So yeah, you guys go there. You drink some sake is brought to you on the house, of course. It is some fruity crap. You don't like it. You choke it down, but I'm sure Kakita here is quite used to this type of stuff. The Crane are just like the elves of Rokugan. That's just the best way to think about it. And as you guys are sitting and drinking and BSing, you can definitely talk and gather some rumors. So is just Matsu trying to do that, or are all three of you?
I'm looking around.
Okay.
I'm definitely trying to weasel out any rumors I can.
Alrighty, excellent. So why don't each of you give me a roll, and I have some tidbits to give to each of you. So if you hit a 15, you can get some information. This can be a Courtier or an etiquette roll.
I'm going to do etiquette.
Laughably bad.
Yeah, it's real bad.
I'm going to do Courtier.
Okay. If you want to call raises, so Mike, if you want to call raises past that 15, for every raise you call and hit, you can get another rumor if you'd like.
So how does that work again? I have to call the raise before I make the roll, and if I
Correct.
go above, then I get a bonus. If I don't, then is there a consequence?
Nope, it is all or nothing when you call a raise. So the idea is that you can get one rumor at a TN 15. If you want to get two rumors, that's a TN 20. But if you get between a 15 and a 20 and you call that raise, you get nothing.
Okay.
It's sort of a push your luck thing.
I will call a raise.
Excellent.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
I rolled a 23.
Excellent, man.
All right.
So
I Tanner, I feel like I'm cheating if I roll investigate, because...
No, you can overhear stuff as long as you narrate it and justify it. Yeah.
All right.
You're doing the more thing of you're sitting in the corner sipping your sake and just eyeballing everybody and trying to keep an ear out.
Okay, that's what I'll do then. So
excellent.
Investigate. 18. No,
Nice.
no raises.
And then
Kakita.
I'm gonna call a raise, so
okay.
22.
Excellent. Nice job, guys. Alrighty. So you guys are, you're shooting the crap, you're talking to one another and everything, and I mean obviously there are peasants and other samurai in town who are excited to see visitors and stuff, and once they figure out you're not really here for the wedding, you're kind of here for the wedding, they start to open up to you a little bit more. You hear some scuttlebutt about how Daidoji Koichi never produced a child for Tenshu. And now that you think, you're like, oh yeah, why weren't her children here? Apparently, she never had any. So you've heard that Tenshu has sort of adopted his deceased sister's children as his sort of heirs in the village, his niece and nephew. Is clearly the subject of gossip among people, but without copious sake, no one would have said that out loud. But luckily, you have copious sake. One other thing that you noticed is that someone dropped some reference to Koichi being like, "Oh yeah, she wasn't like this when she was on the west side of the river." And then once you talk, you realize, and you pry on that, you realize that Koichi used to be a Matsu. Her name was Matsu Koichi. So she was a lion who was married into the crane. Let's see here. So that was the clues that you got, Mike. Those were your two.
Okay.
You have heard, Dusty, this is something that perks up your ears as people are talking and BSing. The Scorpion, the groom, he brought a bodyguard with him, a Yojimbo with him. And you have heard that Matsu Asano, who is the sword mistress of this village, and I believe she was your sensei too, she killed that Scorpion's brother in a duel a couple years ago, and there is bad blood between them. And you have heard that there has been all efforts made to make sure that those two do not interact with one another. So between the Scorpion's Yojimbo and the Lion Sensei.
Okay.
And then Brian, Kakita, you have heard some scuttlebutt that Yogo and his Yojimbo, his Yojimbo is his bodyguard. She's a lady. You hear they spend a lot of time together.
Okay.
And let's see, you got a raise on that too. So you get that, and let's see, one more little piece I could give you. So once you talk about, or once you hear the scuttlebutt about the Yojimbo and the brother of the I can give you the Lion Sword Master. There you go. Matsu Sano's brother and the Yojimbo killing one another, or I'm sorry, Matsu killing the Yojimbo's brother. You hear that Asano, she views that completely as just being part of her duty, and she's just like sort of above that. It's the Scorpion specifically that you feel like or that Scorpion specifically is really holding a grudge.
Okay.
So Yogo Kojima or the bodyguard?
The bodyguard. And you ask around and you find out that the bodyguard is named Bayushi Haruko.
Haruko.
But obviously, I mean, a duel is a duel and a duel is final, so she wouldn't have any rights to pursue it past that without both sides agreeing to. So.
Yeah. Okay. Can I presume that we've left and are comparing notes now?
Sure. Yeah. So the sun is sort of starting to hang low in the sky at this point. It's probably late afternoon going into evening at this point. So maybe it is fall, so the sun sets kind of earlier. So it's probably 5 or 6 p.m. right now.
I'd be like, scorpions are nocturnal. Night's the best time to catch a scorpion for a conversation. And I I sort of don't care if showing up late to their camp offends them.
Yeah.
That works for me.
I mean, I'm going to be polite, don't get me wrong, but if there's a slight insult implied by you need to come wait on me at 6 p.m.
Oh, well.
Shouldn't have been born a scorpion.
Having listened to Shadow of the Cabal and Tanner, and having listened to the retrospective,
Yeah.
it hurts me to be
So mean to the Bayushi.
yes.
They
But,
deserve it.
Yeah. I'll say, and the whole peasant thing too, like the whole social whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, but
Yep.
but hey, it's the role I'm dealt and I'm playing it.
Yep.
Let's go talk to some scorpions.
Excellent. So you managed to hike your way up outside the village to the scorpion encampment. From just glancing around, you would guess there's probably 5 or 10 scorpion samurai here, and probably double that amount of peasants and servants and retainers and stuff like that. So the scorpion are certainly traveling pretty light here, or they're not sending a whole village here. You know, they're just sending the groom and his sort of entourage. His groomsmen and all that like. So you head up there just as the scorpion are starting to light those red lanterns that they love so much, those red paper lanterns. And after asking around, you are brought into the company of Yogo Kojima. He's a youngish man. He's quite a bit older than Kikyo is. You would guess he's probably in his early 20s as well. Very, very well put together, very calculated. He does wear a mask like all Scorpion do, but his is sort of just an eye mask just around his eyes, so you can see all of his facial expressions. He has that sort of look, that smirk on his face of like always knowing more than he's letting on, which you think is probably a very calculated expression that he's had a lot of practice doing. And alongside him, sitting at his right side, there's a woman there, and she has another mask, but hers covers almost her entire face. She does have eye holes and like a hole around the mouth, but that's pretty much all you can see about her. And she does have her katana and wakizashi, and you would guess that this is probably his Yojimbo Bayushi Haruko.
Any extra straps for a bigger weapon?
Not that you can see, and I mean, even looking around in the village, it doesn't look like they were traveling like as much of a war party as maybe a group of lion would be. You know, if a lion were going somewhere for a wedding, yeah, we'll bring all of our swords and spears and pole arms and stuff. Why not? But Scorpion, you get the sense that like we have no reason to. Why would we? But yeah, you don't see looking around any signs of that, and she doesn't really look very burly either. She looks like she'd probably be a decent duelist, but maybe not, you know, she's not bulky.
Okay.
Yeah. Greetings, samurai-sons. It is so kind of you to finally make your way to my tent for the evening. It's I'm sure the road was long and arduous, and you had many, many, many important affairs to attend to beforehand, but it is very, very good to see you all here.
Thank you, Yogo, and congratulations on your marriage to Matsu.
Yes, I am so excited. 2 days hence, and I will have a wife, and I will be taking her back to the lands of the Scorpion.
So I'm sure, as you've heard, we're in town investigating the recent murders of the peasants and the samurai. We of course are asking everyone, and we would entreat any information you may know about these murders.
The murders? Has there been more than one?
Oh yes, a lion samurai was murdered early this morning, shortly before we arrived to town.
Oh, that is ghastly. What was the circumstance of this murder?
We're not sure.
I see the Emerald Magistrates always send their best.
Oh, burn.
Responding pridefully and probably giving away more information than I'd like to, because I can tell he's trying to see what we know. But at that burn, I can't stop myself from kind of talking about what we know about attack before he could even draw his sword. Someone crept over the back wall, probably under cover of darkness, and I'm all but saying, like, you know, exactly the kind of shit you guys would be up to.
Right. Is there any information specifically you're withholding when you give him this story? Obviously, you're probably not giving him your guesses, but like, is there anything, or like who you think is a suspect? But is there anything about the facts of the situation that you're withholding?
No, but I would probably try to present it as that the Lion Guards will be ready next time.
Okay.
Like, I'm trying to cover over that, but I can't think of anything that I know that I would want to protect at this point.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, he listens to you and he looks satisfied that he has pumped you for information.
Yeah.
And he says, "Oh, interesting. That is quite a ghastly way to go. It seems like must have been some sort of heavy weapon, some sort of two-handed sword or something of the like," he says as he glances at yours. And then he looks back at you and he says, "Doesn't Matsu Asano teach that style of swordsmanship?" Just a thought. Yes, but I'm afraid to say that I was, during the times of the murder, I was here in my room practicing my calligraphy.
Oh, it's a great alibi.
Yeah.
That's all. That's excellent. May we see a sample of the calligraphy as your progress has grown?
Go ahead and make me a Courtier roll.
Okay.
Are you going to do the... What's that movie where... I can't think of his name right now. The guy in Lethal Weapon 4. The not Jackie Chan.
There's a Lethal Weapon 4.
I was like, what? 22.
22. You managed to catch him squirming a little bit, and you managed to make him squirm. And like all crab, you enjoy making a scorpion squirm slightly. And he says, "Oh, it's not something that is capable of being shown off to the public. But if you would like, I could definitely practice some kanji and maybe give you a gift or something." You're pretty confident you caught him in a lie just now. He was not practicing calligraphy.
Ooh. Do I know that? Did I pick up on that, even though it was his role?
Possibly. If you want to make an investigation or an etiquette, you can.
And I'm trying to pick up. I'm picking up on his reaction.
Yeah.
Right.
He's stumbling.
Yeah.
And if so, I'm going to totally be like,
"Oh yeah, you catch him."
Scorpions in their best too.
He snaps a fan in front of his face as he sort of fans at his face and hides the disgust of that zinger you just got on him. and once he's calmed himself down, he snaps his fan shut and he puts it down. He says, "Bayushi-san here is my trusted Yojimbo. She can attest to the location of where I was during the time." And and Bayushi nods and doesn't say anything else, and he says, "So, I'm sorry I cannot offer more insight. I was not skulking around in the shadows."
Oh man, there's a metagame thing I want to do, but we didn't talk about it ahead of time.
Sadness.
Yeah.
You can bring it up if you want. I'm not opposed to. I mean, keep in mind, if it's something that your characters would know, your characters are part of this world. You as the players aren't. So
here's the thing. I'm not even sure I would be willing to bring this up. It would occur to me, but I don't know if I'd be willing to bring it up. So, Mike, I mean, we would probably have talked about this at some point. We would talk about how we've got some obvious... Let's be honest. We're going to finger somebody for this. We have to. Because we just...
Yeah.
We have to. So, right now, we've got the Ronin that could take the fall, and we've got the Scorpion that could take the fall. But I want to find who's guilty first and figure that out.
Right.
But worst case scenario, we've got people to finger, and that's not great.
Yeah.
But hey, Rokugan is what it is.
Yep.
To get to the actual truth of the matter, because I hear you on the heavy weapon thing. I hadn't thought of that. Damn it. That possibly being a line. I hear you on that. I almost want to say, to get the Scorpion's help, we imply to them, look, we could finger you as the bad guys here. You could take the fall for this, or you could use your Scorpion ways to help us figure this shit out.
Right. I think that's a good approach. Yeah.
Would we actually do that, Tanner? What's your thought on how...
I have no issue with you guys doing that as long as you role play it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, okay. Mike, do you want me to step forward and kind of offer that?
I will say it's gonna, if you put that forward, I mean, obviously your characters will say it a little bit more politely than you would. That is still sort of a veiled threat at them, so I'm gonna require like an etiquette or an intimidation or something like that to get that across without immediately just like telling them, "Hey, go fuck yourselves, get out of my tent."
Let me.
Because that is an option. This probably isn't the type of thing that they would draw steel about, but it is something that could seriously offend them.
I know how I would phrase it, Mike. So I don't know if you want to do it because you have the better stat, which feels metagamey, or I've got the way to phrase it.
If you role play it good, I'm not going to call a roll for it. If it's something that seems reasonable, but go ahead, Mike.
I think I know a way to phrase it using my etiquette stat and framing it as etiquette. So so I would say to Yogo, clearly the circumstances here are not in the favor of the Scorpions. This is a situation where it appears that you would be the obvious candidate for us to select to be guilty of those crimes, the obvious easy selection. We believe that there is something deeper here, and we do not want to make you as the obvious choice. So we would entreat you to help us with our investigation to prevent us from making that obvious choice.
Awesome. No need to roll. That was awesome.
Okay.
Yogo kind of sighs, and he kind of rubs his head, and he's like, as much as this pains me, I don't disagree. And I can tell you, for all that you'll appreciate it, that we are not involved in this ugliness. We have no desire or motive to shame the lion in this, but someone is looking to make the lion look bad on the eve of their wedding. And whoever's doing this is clearly escalating the crimes. 2 peasants, no one cares. A samurai on the doorstep to a lord, that's sending another message. And I think that it is not the target of this, the final target as this killer grows more bold, will almost certainly be one of the wedding party.
I would agree.
I think I will entrust that you will keep this conversation private to restore both of our honor in this matter. Is that understood?
Absolutely.
Excellent. My snide remark earlier at your sensei, Matsu, I don't apologize for it, and I think that it is something that you might want to look into, because this town is bristling with those who have learned that sword style, the same style that you presumably use, Matsu-san.
All right, I've got some thoughts that I want to share, but not in front of the Scorpion. I think in front of the Scorpion, I would bow, and it wouldn't be especially deep, but it would be sincere.
Yeah.
It'd be a really sincere. Thank you, bow.
Yeah.
And wait, before you leave, like I said, if any of this comes back to us, we will ruin you. Have a pleasant evening. And you are escorted out of the tent before you can say anything.
Yeah, he gets the last word.
Yeah.
Alrighty, night has fallen. It is dark. The moon is rising. It's a nice harvest moon outside. Is there anything that you guys would like to do? It would be kind of rude to call upon people unasked for in the evening, but that is obviously circumstances are different here. So
I want to stand guard somehow, like not the whole night, but I want to take a watch. I want to show up. Is there like a watchman where I could show up and say, as both a symbolic and practical gesture, as representatives of the Emerald Magistrates, we want to keep watch over the wedding party.
Sure. Yeah, you can definitely. Are just you volunteering to do that?
I definitely want to.
Kakita, I could use a good blade. I actually, Yasuki, I might kind of hint that swordplay is not where I want
point.
You.
That's a good point.
I want you well rested for investigations, but I would really appreciate Kakita's blade.
So the Kakita and Matsu, you guys are standing guard outside the Matsu estate.
We're probably taking turns. That way. Yeah.
You could refresh your void points and stuff. Not that you used any, but yeah. You do that. They are certainly willing to have your company, and they feel very lucky and sort of energized. And you can tell like things are obviously very tense, and they are samurai, but they are afraid at what is going on here. But you can tell that you definitely have like a calming presence on them. Mike, Yasuki, on the other hand, is probably half in the bag right now. He's stretched out. He's got his sake. He's got a whole host of people sort of listening to him tell his stories of the crab. And as about 11, between like 11 and midnight or so, a peasant enters, sort of a younger man, and he walks right up to you and he hands you a letter. And he says, "This is for you, Yasuki-sama."
Oh, thank you.
And he bows, and clearly he can see he's interrupted, so he just turns around and heads back out the door.
As he kind of walks out, I ask him real quick, who sent you?
He turns to you and says nothing and then keeps walking. He is like blatantly ignoring you.
Interesting. Can I do a real quick Courtier to loudly proclaim who has sent you into this disrespectful manner?
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
You're probably, as a crab, you're probably drunk anyway. That's perfect.
Yeah.
I love that you're saying Courtier.
Sorry, I can't. That's
No, it's fine. I've heard 50-50 of people I've talked to say that.
Really?
Yeah.
Courtier. 28.
He stops and he kind of like shakes and he says the Ronin told me to hand you this.
Tell the Ronin I have received their letter and hope they receive nothing in return.
Oh, dude.
Oh,
He just turns tail and walks out. So you
Mike,
flip over-
nice role playing the disadvantage.
Role playing the what?
The disadvantage. Oh, were you not doing that on purpose?
Oh, I was doing that on purpose. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, so you flip open the letter and you read it, and it basically says, "We have information that pertains to your investigation. Meet us up on the hill outside of town at midnight, and we will talk through what we know."
Well, shit. All right, so I'm gonna find these two and tell them
Sure,
about the
yeah.
letter I received from the Ronin, and get their advice on what time is it? How much time do we have to respond?
You probably have like an hour or so.
So
It's a short walk. I mean, you can see the hill. It's the hill that you came over to get into town, so it's...
Okay. So I understand we definitely want to keep guard, but I think we also need to talk to these Ronin to find out what they know. But I certainly don't want to go alone.
Yeah, this could be a distraction, though. We haven't talked to Sano yet, but if she's taught some of these Ronin, this could be a distraction for a single assassin to get in here. So what I would say is, Kakita, you're better. I hate to split our forces, but you're better one-on-one. I doubt they're going to send more than one assassin. If you can keep watch here, you know, I'm a lion. I can fight several Ronin. Whether that's true or not, it's what I'll boast.
Yeah, I'll hang tight.
Okay. So you're gonna are you staying watch then outside the estate? Okay. So we will follow Yasuki and Matsu up, and you guys head up the hill. Are you guys strapping weapons and armor, or like are you?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Just making sure. Okay.
Yeah. Good call.
So yeah, you take your time to armor up, and you head up there, and sure enough, at the top of the hill, you can see the Ronin with the scar. Akira is there, and there are his 4 other goons behind him. And he says, "It is good to see you, Matsu. I wish that Yasuki-san here hadn't insulted us at our proposition to aid you, so I will choose to politely ignore that, Yasuki-san, if you would kindly apologize."
I do apologize. I was mostly offended by the peasant you sent refusing to tell me the source of the message.
Of course, and sake does not do any favors to make anybody more polite. I understand
Indeed.
that.
Indeed.
I'm gonna touch Yasuki and like kind of a hey before you say anything else gesture. I'll say there's 2 of us. I'd feel better if there were 2 of you.
I'm sure there are lots of things that would make you feel better, Matsu, but I am not in the business of making you comfortable. I apologize.
Well, 4 will go down as good as well as 2.
Well, it doesn't need to be that way. I would think it would be best if you were to simply pack up your things and leave town. I think it would be better for all involved.
And I interject and I say, we're here on behalf of the Empire to investigate these goings-on. The one thing we will do before we leave town is make a determination of who is guilty of these crimes. We thank you for taking the time to help us with this investigation, so let's dispense with measuring of our manhoods, and please, say what you're here to say.
Well, I thought I'd be able to keep this for myself. And he kind of reaches into his kimono and he pulls out a bag that clearly is jingling with money, and he tosses that in between you on the floor, and he said, or on the ground, and he says, "This has been given to me to persuade you to look to your duties elsewhere." Where is Kakita-san? And he gestures to one of his goons, and he says, "Go find the Kakita and ensure that bring him here. We will talk to all at once, if that is all right, Matsu-san."
No, that's not all right.
No.
Kakita stays where he is. We need Kakita where he is.
Yes.
So, carrying this any further won't be good for either of us. If you're here to deliver a message, you'd best deliver it.
That is my message. It is wise for you to take the money and leave. Otherwise, we will have to escort you out.
Oh, man, I want to flat refuse. But I look at you, Yasuki. I've said a lot here. I'm going to look at you.
We obviously cannot...
Plus, if we take the money, the adventure's over, and F that.
Yeah, no, obviously, F that. I'm just trying to think of how to say it. We obviously cannot accept your encouragement for us to divert what we have been sent to do. That would be dishonorable. We We are trying not to spread that dishonor to this very act itself. So,
now that I know that you're on my side, I jump in with, you wouldn't understand this, but a samurai puts duty before money.
boom.
He looks to two of the guys at his side and he says, "Go find the Kakita." And the two of them immediately start sprinting off, and the guys who remained start drawing their swords.
Yep, same here.
Alrighty,
Yep,
let us
draw.
roll initiative.
Sorry, Brian, you're going to be 2-on-1. I didn't deal with that.
So, quick one thing. We're gonna each, before you roll initiative, you're each gonna choose which stance that you are taking. On the player cheat sheet, it gives the effect of all the stances. Generally speaking, attack is like the default stance. Means you're sort of open and fluid. Full attack gives you a bonus on offense, but decreases your defense. Both defense and full defense, you cannot make any offensive actions. You can move around in full defense, or you can you can move around in regular defense, but you just can't attack. In full defense, you stop still, can't do anything.
Brian, don't get confused. The Iajutsu is only for dueling. So your technique, the way of the crane, with the center stance, that would only help you in a duel.
Center stance, you can do center stance in skirmishes too.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
But he wouldn't get that crane add twice to your Iajutsu skill rank.
I believe let me double check the sheet. Let's see how it's worded.
So maybe I'm wrong, Tanner, but the reason I think that is that a skirmish would be Kenjutsu versus Iajutsu, right? Right.
I have a house rule that if you want your first attack roll as you draw your sword to be Iajutsu, that makes sense. But you just can't continue to do Iajutsu, but your first strike definitely can be if you'd like. And so we let us roll initiative. So everyone choose which stance. All of the Ronin, there's Akira, and there's 4 mooks, right? 2 of them are running and off down to the village to Kakita, and 2 of them are staying here. These are a mook group. They are not full characters. They share 1 initiative, and you will possibly have the chance to kill multiple of them at once if you can. So they're sort of like they're like extras in Savage Worlds almost, or like an enemy group. So you attack them as a group, and they all do one thing. Akira is his own dude, however, so he's going to have 1 initiative roll.
As I'm drawing Yasuki, I kind of say Akira's mine.
Okay, that's fair, because I think I'm going to take a defensive stance, since I don't think I'm that great.
Yep,
Swords.
so everybody decide your stance, and then go ahead and roll your initiative.
I'm assuming I'm just waiting for the others to get here for it to play out, right?
Right. Once their initiative rolls up, we'll cut over to you and what's going on, and then this will all be one fight, even though you're in two different locations.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, so we'll just cut back and forth because I think that'll be the most entertaining for everybody.
I rolled an 18 on my initiative.
Alrighty.
Oh yeah, sorry, I'm not rolling initiative, Emma. Sorry, my bad. Initiative. There we go.
So you got an 18.
I got 13.
Matsu got a 13.
4, 3, plus 6. So
And
my
I've
initiative
been attack stance, by the way.
my initiative will be 27.
27. Awesome. That is very good.
Ooh, what's the double exclamation point mean?
That means it can explode more than once. So if you roll a 10 and then a 10, I think a 1 exclamation point is it explodes once, but in L5R things can explode theoretically forever.
Okay.
Yeah. So if we notice that coming up, you should be able to see it on the dice. Wow, Akira did not get great. it's not great. And then our mooks. Oof, woof. 30, and then we'll make those guys the one on the hills with you guys, and the moose heading to town. We'll do that. Okay. Alrighty. Any questions before we get started, or are we good to go?
Good to go.
How do you roll a 12 on a D10? Is there a bonus in there?
So the way that I have my dice macro. The way that mine works is that that was a 10 that exploded with another 2, and it combines it into 12. Yeah. So
okay.
Yeah, it's mathematically the same. It's just the notation in Roll20 is different.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yep. What, you think I'm cheating? Come on. No, I'm just kidding. Oh, I rolled a 12. Oh, sorry. Already.
The icon's clearly a D10. So.
Yeah, no, that's what was confusing about it. Yeah.
Alrighty, so the mooks on the top of the hill, they draw their weapons and they are rushing to try to take on the easiest target, Yasuki, first. So you adopted defense stance, correct?
Yes.
So your armor TN is actually increased by your air ring plus your defense skill. So what is your total armor TN?
So I'm assuming my air ring is 2.
Mm-hmm.
And then where do I find my defense skill? Oh, 3D, 3K2. So I roll that 3K2, right?
No, so your defense rank is just the number there.
It's above attack.
Oh, defense rank 1.
Yep, so you're adding 1 plus 2. So you're adding 3 to your armor TN. So what is your total?
18.
18, awesome. So they are going to they are not going to call any raises on you. Oh, by the way, in combat, on the cheat sheet, did I put the raises? Oh, so generally in combat, you can do called shots with raises, or if you, for 1 raise, you can just do an additional 1 KO damage. You can increase your damage. You can also knock people down. There's all sorts of different things you can do. If you want to do anything besides your standard attack roll, it's generally a raise. So let me know if that comes up. So these 2 mooks are going to lay into you as they draw their swords.
And I would probably shout, "Defend yourself."
Yep, and your hand goes to your wakizashi, but they get a 23 to hit you, which is a hit for them. And they deal 15 wounds to you. So remember, you can void point if you want to reduce those by a flat 10. The decision to do that is now. You can only spend a void point once per turn, though. So if you void point now, you can't void point until the turn goes all the way around again.
So with that 15 points of damage, that's still in the 0 to 15 healthy range, right?
Yep, you are totally good. So you actually are the toughest, I believe, in this group. You're the sturdiest. So
okay.
Yeah, I think a 15 would have nicked anybody else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude,
So
that's crab stuff there.
Yep.
I think I will take that 15 points of damage.
Excellent. So they both rush into you, and you draw your sword just in time to parry 2 of the blows, but one of them gets a scrape and cuts your kimono, and the other one drags his sword and gets a shallow cut on your arm, but you are certainly still in the fight.
Okay.
What's the defense skill? Like, is it like in D&D where you can just choose to parry for a round?
That is the full defense option. So if you go full defense, you roll that skill and you add half of what you rolled to your armor TN.
Okay.
So yeah, so presumably if you want to do nothing, and the idea is that you want to go into full defense to bait them into going into full attack, so that on your turn you can change stance and hit them back when they're extended themselves. It's a common thing, because so on the top of each of your turns after this first round, you can choose which stance you want to be in.
Okay.
So you are not locked in. You're only locked in for a turn.
Okay.
Kakita, you look up and you hear the pitter patter of feet coming down the road through the gate, and you can see there are two Ronin in their grubby robes, and they have both of their swords at their hips, and they are running basically straight towards you. And you see this coming. They are still a distance off, though. What would you like to do?
I am going to prepare, I guess, a combat stance for when they get here, and it'll be an attack.
Okay, so are you kind of like stepping away from the estate to intercept them on the road, or are you staying where you are?
So am I? I want to make sure that I'm not backed up against something, so I need to step forward. So
you're gonna step into the road, basically.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. And they are on their way there. And they are rushing, and they, on their turn, make the movement to get down into where you are, but that takes up their whole action.
Can I?
Yeah, what's up?
Sorry, metagamey. Can I warn Brian that he should probably read his techniques before he commits to attack stance?
Yeah, definitely.
So the way of the crane, Brian. Make sure you don't want to be in center stance.
Yeah, I'm not in center stance.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, you get a bonus for attacks and focus rolls when you are in the center stance.
That's what I'm saying. You might want to be in center stance, man.
Yeah.
Oh. You want to all attack and focus rolls in the center stance as well as the round.
So for this round and the next round, you'd get 1k1.
Mm-hmm.
Take no actions this round. Yeah, I've been reading the combat stances and focusing.
No, it's okay. So on this turn, you basically did that. You took no actions, but on your next turn, you're actually going to go first.
Okay.
And then you will get a 1k1 bonus. You actually going to get a 2k2 bonus because you get the 1k1 for center stance and you get the 1k1 for way of the crane.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Thanks.
So you're standing out. You're standing out there, and it's the classic like the serene, no thought. Yeah. You're focusing yourself. Yeah. Your hands going to your sword as they rush heedlessly into you. All right, Yasuki, you are up. So you are in defense stance for the round, and you are locked into defense stance for this round. Oh no, this is the round that you can change it. So if you'd like to change it, you definitely can.
I think I will actually go full defense. I'm going to pull into my crab shell.
Okay, awesome. So go ahead and roll me your defense skill then. Just the number, the 4K or the what K what.
17.
So add half of that round up, which is 9. So you're adding 9 to your armor TN then for the round.
So 24.
Nice. That is a hefty boost. Yep. Alrighty. That brings us to Matsu.
I'm drawn down on Akira. I'm swinging my Nodachi.
Excellent.
And I'm straight in Kenjutsu. I'm not messing around with any Iijutsu first.
Okay. Are you just in regular attack or full attack?
Regular attack.
Okay, awesome. Go ahead
and I'm not calling any raises because I don't know his armor TN, so I'm going to use my existing Katana macro. Okay. The Katana macro rolls damage, whether it hits or not, but we can just ignore it.
That is a 19, which is definitely a hit. Your Nodachi, did you write down your Nodachi damage? That should be different than your Katana damage.
7k3. Oh, I only did 7k2. Oh, I did Katana instead of Nodachi.
Okay, so why don't you just go ahead and give me another roll of 7k3 and then add 6 to it. Or is that what you rolled there? Yeah, it's 7k2. So go ahead and give me 7k3.
Okay. Roll and keep. 7. 24.
Nice. That is a hefty hit. He is actually going to void point that himself because.
And I should add 6 to that, by the way.
Oh, nice. Okay, then he's definitely void pointing that
because of the lion's roar. So 30.
30. Awesome. So he's going to drop that down to 20. So he is injured from this. So he is at plus 10 to all of his TNs. What does this attack look like as you bear down on him and get a good hit?
Oh, I'm coming right back at him. Like I'm also stepping toward him, and I'm gonna step toward him and through him Almost like a baseball bat swing. Like it's
Okay.
a really powerful, heavy sword, heavy swing, going for the fences.
And he parries you, but you just like knock his sword into him and you cut into him regardless as you drag it and step past him and then turn around to face him again.
Okay.
He did not like that, so he's going to try to attack you back. He has been injured though, so he's not going to call any raises. So what is your armor TN with while you're wearing armor?
20.
20, so he is at a plus 10, so he actually has to hit a 30 to hit you. So let's hope he can do that.
And I have a reduction of 3.
Okay, actually he's going to step into full attack because he is getting desperate here and he needs to get a strike on you. So he is stepping into full attack to increase his die roll by 2k1. So he needs to hit a 30 to hit you. Wow! Okay,
Holy crap.
He should have called some raises on that.
Holy yeah.
Yeah. So he's going to do his katana damage on you.
Okay.
Your 23 is coming at you. You can void point that if you'd like.
Let me see here. I'm not going to void point it because instead I'm going to save my void point for next turn to do Paragon of Duty.
Awesome. Oh yeah, because you can just ignore your yeah. Awesome. Cool. So yeah, he gets a good strike, and he does a very, very desperate move where he basically puts all of his weight into a lunge and it sticks into your thigh and you grunt in pain as he pulls it out and the blood splashes on the ground.
And it's 24?
23 damage coming
23, sorry.
Yep.
That puts me into injured.
Okay. Kakita, you are actually first this round, so you have these two mooks in front of you. What would you like to do?
So did you say that in going back to what Dusty said?
Yeah.
Was I in the center stance post?
Yeah, I just retconned that you were just in center stance that last round.
Okay, awesome. So
that's what you described anyway.
Yes, awesome.
So, yeah.
So basically, they are one entity as far as the attack goes.
Correct. Yep.
Okay, so I'm going to use my Way of the Crane because I had that. So that's a doubling effect, it looks like. So I add 1k1 to attack rolls plus the center stance, which is 1k1 plus my Void Ring. So that makes that 2k2 plus Void Ring over above my attack.
Correct. So what's your regular Iaijutsu skill?
Iaijutsu. Oh gosh. Remind me. Yeah.
That's on your skill.
6k3.
Yeah, it looks like yours is 6k3.
Okay, yeah, I see it right there.
So you're actually going to be doing an 8k5
5 plus 2.
God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm
gonna call. How many raises can I call? 1, 2.
You can call up to 2 raises currently.
I'm just gonna call 1, just to be safe. 8k2, 8k5, 4. AK5.
AK5, yes.
AK5 plus 2.
Yeah.
Hefty roll. Yeah.
And you're just calling the raises for increased damage?
Yeah, that'll work.
Okay.
8. Just the 32. Just 32.
Oh, just the 32.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is definitely a hit. So go ahead and look at your regular katana damage roll.
Which the damage is 6k2.
So you're going to be adding 2KO to that, so that's 8k2.
8k2.
Because of your two raises.
Okay. 20.
That is the perfect amount to kill both of them. So
Awesome.
What does this look like?
So actually to kill them, I have a soft-hearted disadvantage.
Oh, you do. Okay.
Yeah. So I
good memory.
I have to make an earth roll at TN20 before I can take a human life.
So if you want to, you can make that earth roll to do that. Otherwise, you're going to have to keep smaller dice if you fail.
So
and do less damage.
An earth roll, my ring it's 2.
So it's just 2k2.
2k2. Okay. 2. So 10 at TN20. So
Oof.
that means
that is a failure.
Yeah, so I didn't kill them.
So I'll give you the choice. You can either
I can re-roll because of my luck advantage if I wanted to, I guess.
Sure. So you also rolled that damage pool. With roll and keep, you can keep any 2 of those dice. it's often assumed that you want to keep the highest ones, but this might be a case where you want to keep the lower dice. So you can keep 2 of any of those dice that you rolled there.
Of the
6, the 2, the 10, the 7, and the 4.
Oh, okay.
All those, yeah.
So
I'll give you a choice. Either you can kill these dudes and take that failure and take the guilt, or you can keep smaller dice, and these guys will still be alive.
Oh man. Okay, so I'm going to do something metagamey because this is a one shot for us. I'm going to live with the guilt, and I'm going to kill him.
Awesome. Okay, describe how this looks.
So I was not aiming to kill. I was swinging to injure. But
Swords have a habit of doing otherwise.
Swords have a habit of doing otherwise. I ended up slicing one across the neck and just, got his gullet. And the other is this one. So is this one swing, or is this considered multiple? Because you
can describe it however you want, but you killed 2 dudes. However you want to do it.
So I swung at one, not trying to kill, but killing by slicing the neck, and the other I was sort of aiming for the shoulder, but got a little too close to like the heart and probably severed an artery.
Yeah, and they both just drop dead in the dust of the street, and you immediately just have this pit in your heart.
And I don't drop my sword. My sword doesn't touch the ground, but I do drop it, but it comes close to touching the ground, and I feel bad. I feel really empty.
You can hear sounds of commotion coming up the hill as well. So if you want, you can go where they came to, but I think it also makes total sense if you are just in your own head right now.
I'm in my own head right now.
Okay, awesome. Already, those guys are done. Yasuki, you're up again. Or I'm sorry, no, Kakita went first that time. So the mooks on the hill, there are still 2 of them, and they are going to continue to try to lay into you, Yasuki. So they are still coming at you with a 4K3, and a 20 is not enough to hit you. What does this look like as you defend yourself? Oh, you're muted.
Whoops. Sorry.
Sorry.
Basically, he tries to overhead swing me, and I'm already in my full defense mode, so I've kind of got my arm up, and he basically just hits my arm, and I deflect the strike.
Awesome. Cool. That brings us to Yasuki, you're up, so you can change stances now if you'd like.
Yeah, I think I will change stance to attack.
Alrighty. And I assume you're going to attack these 2?
Yes. So I will attack. Sorry.
No worries.
6.
That is not good.
I should have stayed in defense.
Yeah, you get some confidence and you lash out with your short sword that you keep on you, but these guys are trained fighters, and you are many things, but a bushi you are not. And you parry. Those blows are effortlessly parried as they encircle you. Matsu, you're up.
All right. He's in full attack.
Akira is in full attack, yes.
All right. I'm not going to go. I don't think I'm going to go full attack. I think I'm going to do Nodachi.
Okay.
With him being injured, is his TN lower or is it the same?
It is the same to hit him. It is just harder for him to hit things. So his TN is not changed.
All right. So I am going to spend a void point to use Paragon of Duty to ignore the TN penalty. And I'm just going to do a flat Nodachi attack on him.
Excellent. Are you going to call any raises on that?
Ooh, because he's in full attack, yes, I will call 1 raise.
Okay, sounds good.
Wait, can I still call a raise even when I spend a void point?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So spending 1 void point, I'm calling 1 raise. So let me not use the Nodachi macro then. Let me use... All right, so it's 5k2. 19.
Handily.
Okay.
So increase your damage by a 1 KO on that.
All right. So now it'll be 8k3 plus 6.
It's so disgusting.
and it's that plus 6, so 28.
28. Jeebus Lorenzo. Let's see. How do you kill Akira?
It's not anything graceful. It's not a decapitation. It's another baseball strike, and I'll say this one gets under his armpit and goes between a couple of ribs and slices through a lot of thorax.
And you have to like kick him off your sword as you draw it from him.
Yeah,
and he is dead before he hits the ground.
All right.
Alrighty. Yikes. Let me just cross him off my list.
To try to save Yasuki's life, can I like shout or something at the mooks to make sure they're very aware that Akira's dead?
Certainly, yeah. So Yasuki, if you want, you can try to get them to surrender if you want. A house rule I have for mooks is that you can intimidate mooks into surrendering. Usually not so for other samurai if they don't want to, but if you want to, you can make an intimidation roll to get them to throw down their weapons.
Yeah, I'd like to try that. I'll say Akira has fallen. Your comrades have fallen. Surrender or pay the consequences.
Awesome.
And
you're gonna have to hit a 20 on this.
26.
Alrighty, they both toss down their swords on the ground and hold their hands up.
Sweet. Interrogation time.
Yeah, confess dogs, who sent you?
Yep.
they like look around. They can see the steam coming off Akira's body, and they turn to you and they say, "She hid our identity, but it was a woman. I can definitely tell. But she wore an obi around her face. She said, bring this to them, bring them the money, and ask them to leave. And if they don't, make them leave. We needed money to eat. You have to understand. We didn't want to do this. Why would we ever want to pick a fight with people like you? We did this because we need to live too."
Where did this meeting happen at?
She met us on the bridge.
And I've got a suspicion, and Kakita's not around, so I'm going to say, was she a well-built woman? And I don't mean that the way it sounded. I meant, like, is she a powerful woman?
She looked like she was a warrior, yes.
So that narrows it down to what was there anything you could call out about her voice, about her mannerisms?
It was dark. She handed us a piece of paper. And he kind of points his finger trembling to where Akira's laying split open. He said he had the letter on him that she gave him. I don't know any more than that, okay? If you just let us go, please.
Oh. Now it's like, do I touch the body and go for the letter, or do we wait for an Eta and let the letter get soaked in blood?
I ask for one of them pull the letter off his body.
Oh, yeah. Ooh, nice.
Good thought.
Or I tell one of them pull the letter off his body.
he pulls himself together, and he does basically the Rokugani equivalent of making the cross. You know, you can hear him muttering some sort of prayer or sutra, and his hand trembling reaches and pulls out only a partially blood-stained letter, and he trembles and hands it to you, Yasuki.
I read it. Okay.
Yeah, it basically says the investigators are in town. Here is some money. Get them out of town one way or another. Looking at the paper, it is on pretty nice stationery. Like, this is like calligraphy paper. This isn't like scrap rice paper. You're Courtier. You're used to writing letters and poems and stuff to people. This is the type of just some nice stationery.
All right, I want to take you aside. I want to tell them, wait here, and I want to take a couple steps to the right, and I want to confer with you.
Okay.
Sure. Kakita, do you want Brian? Do you want to be involved in the scene? It's very reasonable for you to have made your way up here if you want.
I'm still.
I actually don't want Brian.
Okay, totally fine. I just wanted to make sure that was an option.
No offense, Brian. It's not about you. It's about Kakita.
Well, like I'm still though just standing there, holding my sword.
I'm slightly above average intelligence. I don't want to overplay my intelligence, but what I would say is, all right, Yasuki. It benefits the Crane to stop this marriage, especially if the marriage strengthens the line for an invasion.
Yes.
It's on calligraphy paper.
Yes.
A warrior woman has got to be. Sorry, it's in my notes. Natsumi.
Natsumi. Yep.
This is
So
probably
now-
Natsumi. I said now, but on the other hand,
What makes it not Asano,
what makes it not Asano?
the lion swordmaster lady?
The
Your-
fact that it's on nice paper and it doesn't benefit the lions to sabotage our invasion. Keep up, man.
Okay. Okay.
So,
Would she-
plus,
would she-
plus
would
my,
she
my
not-
sensei would never do this.
Okay.
So what we've got here is it looks like the Crane are involved. Certainly, let's talk to Kakita about this, but let's bear in mind what we also have here are the guilty parties caught, bloody-handed, red-handed, so to speak. So
Right.
we've got our villains.
Right.
Do we escalate this war by accusing the Crane, especially on the word of a Ronin?
I agree with you that it's most likely Natsumi. I think there also may be some other impetus behind the Crane that are causing them to potentially do this. I just want to make sure we have an airtight case. I still think we don't have enough evidence to not say this could not be Asano if she has some ulterior motive to preventing this wedding.
I think Rokukani Justice is satisfied with these dead Ronin. I think everything else we have to say to the Crane about this was a really bad idea, we could say in the tea room and not on the battlefield.
What if you take your sparring option up with Ryumaru to get the feeling for if he's proficient with heavy weapons that could have caused these murders? I think if we have that evidence that he is proficient with heavy weapons, and we think Natsumi is the one who bribed these Ronin to get us out of town, then I think we will have sufficient evidence to make a determination.
I'll spar with both of them because perhaps she
Could have done it as well, yes.
But I'll also take the Scorpion's advice. So let's do this. Let's spend the rest of the night and rest. And then I'll talk to Asano in the morning. And then we'll talk about perhaps splitting up. And Kakita can have one conversation with the Daimyo, and I can have a different conversation with Natsumi and Ryumaru.
Do we need to continue to keep watch tonight, too, over the wedding party?
Is this enough evidence, Tanner? You think we could insist that the Daimyo be interrupted and double the guard for the night?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay,
Yeah,
let's do that.
Yeah. Okay, so we will fast forward through the next couple of hours of that happening then. So you guys go and speak to the daimyo or some peasant that will get his attention, and the guard is doubled. You feel like all entrances are pretty much on watch right now. And you guys meet back up with Kakita. I assume that you fill each other in on most of what's going on here.
Oh, and I'm still pretty hurt, actually.
You are, I was going to say. So
I'm kind of hurt, too.
you guys do not have a Shugenja on hand, so you're going to have to heal the old-fashioned way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, is there anything that you guys would like to do for the rest of that evening, or do you want to pick back up in the morning when you've had time to rest?
Check on Kakita. So Kakita, we presumably, by the way, we had that whole conversation knowing that the sounds below had stopped, and probably it was visible that Kakita had killed them. Otherwise, we would have gone running down the hill.
Yeah.
So Kakita, at some point, I want to catch up to you, and I know you well enough to know about your disadvantage, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we don't need to narrate it, but I think we're going to have a moment.
Sure.
Sorry, bro.
Yeah. Awesome. So, Brian, you are racked with guilt. So for the next day, you are going to take that penalty.
Okay.
It's going to be tough to get through. Dusty and Yasuki, you guys are. Did you take any wounds, actually, Mike?
I did not. I only got the 15 points of damage, so I'm still healthy, but I don't know what needs to happen.
You are going to heal overnight, whatever your earth ring is, +1 wounds.
So 4. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And for you, that's probably putting your armor back together.
Probably.
Like
Stitch your
retying
shirt
some
back
stuff.
up. Yeah.
So,
All right.
does that mean...
And I'm going to heal what now? My earth ring plus what?
+1.
Earth ring plus 1. Oh, I'm going to heal 3. That'll put me down to hurt at least. I'll go down to 20 wounds.
Okay.
So that just takes me down to the 11 hit points.
11
the
wounds.
healthy.
Yep. Yep. So
okay.
wounds
Okay.
count up, not down, like in most games. So
Okay. Okay.
you accumulate boo-boos, you don't lose health. It's just a different way of thinking about it. But yeah, so yeah, you guys get the medical or as good of medical attention as you can. You know, you have healers come to you and give you a poultice and address your wounds, the most grievous ones. But no matter what, Matsu's going to be limping for a couple days for taking that one. So, are you guys just staying? Are you guys spending the night just in that tea house that you guys were drinking at earlier? Or were you going to accept the hospitality of the Matsu and stay at the Matsu estate overnight? It would certainly send a message to the crane if you did so. That is something all your characters would think about.
Kakita, your call.
How about the tea house?
Okay.
Neutral ground. Yep. So you have everything brought to there, and of course the servants from the estate say, "Oh no, we insist that you come stay here," but you guys are like, "No, we're okay.
Yeah.
We'll be here for the night." And a new dawn arises on the second day. So just to recap, you guys do know that the first of the wedding ceremony is supposed to begin tonight at sundown. So you have a couple hours left to assess the situation and figure out what needs to be done here.
I think Asano and then Crane. I think I want to have the conversation with Asano. She's my sensei by myself, if you guys don't mind.
That's fine.
Entirely understood.
Sure. So you go into the dojo. This is not where you trained, but it looks very similar. Clearly, she moved here and set up something very similar to what you did so many years ago. And she must be in her early 60s or something now, because
I'm 35.
Yeah, she's your sensei. So she is clearly an old, weathered. I mean, her skin looks like leather almost, where she is just this hard, very vascular looking person, and she is drilling these 13-year-olds to hit each other with sticks, just like you remember, just like you remember being on the other end of at one point. And she says, and she genuinely, when she sees you, she smiles and she embraces you openly. And she says, "It is good to see you again. It has been some time since you have been in my halls, Oroku."
I return the embrace, and I say, I would love to sharpen my skills against you. I'm sure you still have a lot to teach me, but the dishonor of a foot, I took a wound last night.
Wounds are that is what the armor is for, and
Yep.
we can't always be lucky. Sometimes the spirits guide the blades of our enemies as well as our own.
So I would want to jump right into it, and we're lions. So I think the Klingon thing to do would be to jump into it first and then do niceties later to show that I care about the niceties.
And she knows what you're here for too, so it's no secret to anybody.
So I'm gonna tell her flat out, those that we've looked at that have been killed by a heavy blade, and while I'm positive it's not been your blade, can you advise me on who carries a heavy blade in Nomura, Kaio Nomura?
She simply points up above on the wall of the dojo where they have the racks of weapons, and there are plates and insignias of every single person that has graduated under her tutelage. And she says, "That name up there is your eldest brother. That name is your younger brother. There is your name." And you can see your name is in the kanji there, and she reveres you. And you can read and go along, and it says Matsu, 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 Okoto, Matsu, all lion names.
Daidoji?
And there are 2 Daidoji names up there on the wall. Daidoji Natsumi and Daidoji Ryumaru. She says, "I am not in a place to dishonor my students by putting forth such a accusation, but considering all that you've told me, I would not. It pains me and dishonors me to see that the techniques I've used have been, I've taught them have been used for such a purpose, but I believe the coincidence is undeniable."
Okay, and at this point, we don't have to narrate it, but this is when I would go into. I would thank her for her honesty. I tell her I'll do whatever I can to make sure that dishonor doesn't fall on her school steps. And then we would do the niceties thing, and I'd catch her up on what I know about my brothers, and I'll leave her on good terms.
Mm-hmm. And as you're leaving, she points and she says, "Don't forget that honor has been granted to those on the lion side of the river too." And you can see the names Matsu Genzo. You can see the name Matsu Oda there, and you do see a name that says Matsu Koichi, and you pick up on that too.
Koichi. I'm looking at my notes, and I should be looking at the screen. Oh.
That's the wife. Yeah. Yeah.
Wife. All right, I'll take note of that and I'll nod. But in my own head, I can't get over the prejudice of how sickly she is. But I don't want to. But Asano's going to links to point that out, so I'm not going to say anything to her.
Yeah.
So
you also know that there are several, even amongst the lion, it is not uncommon for people of high status to be graduated. Whether or not they, the daimyo might put pressure and say, "No, I can't have my kid be the first one who isn't good enough." That you don't think that it's entirely unreasonable that could have been the explanation for that.
Even Oroku on SPTO.
Yep.
All right. Cool. I got it. I'm gonna go share a lot of that, and I'll take great pains in sharing it with Kakita and Yasuki. Not to say that the Daidoji, that the niece and nephew graduated, but that they had the skill to make those kills. I'll put it this way: they could wield the right weapons, but I won't say. I'm not going to mention the school too much, but I'm confident they could have wielded those weapons. And Kakita, I'm really curious about how you want to take this, because we've got some bad guys. Presumably, those Ronin are in custody.
Yeah, you could have asked any samurai to say, "Hey, watch these dudes," and they say, "Yes, sir." So yeah, I assume they're probably in custody at the estate or nearby. That would make most sense to me. But Rokugan doesn't really have jails because they don't usually incarcerate people. They either kill them or they give them a beating and say, "Go on your way." So
we have our bad guys. We have the assassins. Kakito, what say you? And this is the three of us talking after my
Sure. You guys are in some private spot in town.
Yeah.
So this is the niece and the nephew of the daimyo.
Mm-hmm.
And man, this sucks. Well, okay. Well, so
actually, Brian, as you roleplay this, can I ask Tanner a question?
Yeah.
Sure.
So when I did my game and I looked into the Daidoji, the Daidoji are kind of like guerrilla fighters almost, and kind of the rest of the doji, the rest of the Crane clan, look at the Daidoji a little askance, but not entirely. Is that true? Or
yeah, they're the most lion-like of the Crane. The Daidoji, most of them are these Daidoji Iron Warriors, which are the toughest nails, Yojimbo. They even the Matsu have respect for them, but the Daidoji are also known to be the saboteurs and the shinobi, the ninjas of the Crane. But that's probably something I guess you and Kakita would know about, but probably not something that Yasuki would be intimately familiar with that reputation. But yes, short answer, yes, they do serve both roles, but most people think of them as the Iron Warriors, not the Harriers.
So I'm not going to go into that because we both know that, Kakita, but when I ask you the question about what should we do, I'll say, what should we do about these Daidoji? And I'll put it kind of an emphasis on Daidoji, indicating that they're other to me and you.
So what again were the names of the two Daidoji that we are worrying about specifically?
They are Natsumi and Ryumaru.
Damn it!
Sorry, Tanner.
I also have my concerns about Koichi herself. FYI.
I couldn't remember if Ryumaru was one of the two or not. Shoot. Okay. Well, my sister is marrying Ryumaru.
Oh, that's right.
Yep.
So I need to make sure that that we are as confident as possible.
So here's what I'll say. Not to give up easily, but what I'm going to say is, look, that Ronin seeing a female on a bridge is going to mean jack all, because as Tanner said, the most important thing is shit, I forgot the word, but testimony. And
Ronin are samurai. They are the lowest of the samurai, but their words will still outweigh that of a peasant.
But still, if she says no, that wasn't me, then done. So I think we have our bad guys. We have the Ronin. We put the rest of our energy and wounded selves toward making sure this wedding occurs. And then I think we find a way to subtly inform the Crane, like, look, we're on to you. We can't prove anything, but we're on to you, and we leave it at that.
That's fair.
But we have the Ronin to be the bad guys.
Would it be, and this is probably a yes, so I probably shouldn't even ask, but would it be out of place to have Natsumi read the letter out loud in front of the Ronin for them to determine if it was them, if it was her they were talking to?
That would be the equivalent of making an accusation against her to her face. Yep.
Okay.
Which is certainly an option, and you can duel your way out of almost any problem.
Ah, man.
So I think that would start a war. Yeah.
Well, war's coming regardless.
Yeah, war's coming. Yeah, and
Brian is slightly less equipped to duel than he was last night.
I am. Yeah. Never mind. Never mind. Yeah.
I hate to. I mean, I'm thinking about. So,
I've got you guys in a Rokugan knot.
Yep.
I love these.
Yep. But
we're in the magic circle now, friends.
So I'm thinking about where we work, and I'm thinking about how success isn't rewarded, but failure is certainly punished. We've succeeded. With these Ronin and the attack last night, we've succeeded. We've got the bad guys. As far as anyone is concerned, the Emerald Magistrate showed up, shook the trees, did the right thing by doing some guard duty, and saved this wedding. So this is a win right now for the Emerald Magistrates.
Yeah.
So just like we do at work, sometimes you take a win that's not a total victory, but that's as good as you're going to get rather than pushing real hard. But we still got to find a way to communicate with the Crane that, look, we're not stupid, but we're letting this one go because we can't push it any harder.
I think that's an appropriate call. I would be aligned with that.
Yeah.
So the rest of our energy into guarding this wedding?
Yes.
All right, Tanner. How do we play this out?
Alrighty, we will continue to play this out. Is how we'll play it out. All right. So, so you guys, so just walk me through step by step again. What your plan was? You're going to go to. Are you just telling the Lion that, hey, these Ronin are the ones that did it, and we have it on good authority, and we're handing it off to you? I guess what are you telling to who, and how are you wrapping up the Ronin part of it? Yeah.
So, Mike, we go to the Lion first and say, oh, you know what? I think it sends a strong message. We go to the Lion Daimyo, then the Crane Daimyo, and say, okay, we've caught the responsible parties.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And if we show the letter, Tanner, is that going to invite a bunch of questions to the Daimyo, or is he going to get at the, look, we know these Ronin were hired, and we're leaving it at that?
Yeah, right. You can do that. You guys are it is your duty to solve stuff. No one's going to second guess you if it's not going to offend them. So
okay.
Yeah.
So I think we do that. We show them the letter and say, okay, we know these Ronin were hired
to carry out these attacks.
Here's the letter that proves that they were hired, and these Ronin are the guilty party, and we're going to leave it at that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yep. And you guys do that we see a little picture-in-picture back and forth, you cutting, basically telling the same thing to the Matsu, telling the same thing to the Daidoji. Mm-hmm. And then we cut to later that evening as the wedding ceremonies take place. You see the ceremony of Yogo and Matsu Kikyo being joined together in marriage. And as is customary, kind of opposite to Western thought in Rokugan, their first night is spent apart from one another to reflect on their duties.
Oh,
so,
and guard.
Already. Yeah. So where are you guys, I guess, set up? Are you right outside her window? Are you set up around the grounds? Where are you guarding? Are you right outside the door to her quarters personally?
Yeah, how close can we be? Is there a window to her quarters?
Yes, there is.
One of us in the window, one of us in the door.
Okay.
And I think I'll take the window, and then you two can take the door.
Sure.
That sounds good.
You hear a set of footsteps approach Matsu, and you can see there is a woman there with a large pole arm with a big heavy blade that she is holding in one hand, and she has wrapped an obi, a belt, around her face as she approaches, and she says, she kind of leans her, what you recognize as a bisento, which is a big, heavy, two-handed pole arm. She leans it across her shoulder, and she says, "Stand aside, Lion-san. These are not your kin."
I'm such a pro, I can't abandon my duty. So I'm going to do whatever shout is the appropriate professional.
Or you can just raise your voice. Yeah.
To say, she's here, or something like that, to be, and I go ahead and draw.
She pulls the obi off her face as you approach, and she says, "Do you know what that lord did? Trading off his sickly, infertile eldest daughter to marry my uncle?"
I don't even know how to respond to that.
If you think that he isn't the scorpion in this town, you're fooling yourself. He sabotaged my family's bloodline here. He ensured that we would be snuffed out in a generation. I am here to do the same thing. If you were in my place, you would do the same thing.
I'm not in your place, and I can't let you take these lives. This blood that you spilled can't go unanswered.
Be that as it may. So all three of you are here. Let us roll initiative again.
So who is this Asano? Like we had
this. Oh, I guess I should have said that. This is the niece. This is Natsumi.
Okay, so it is Natsumi. Okay.
The ruined bloodline is
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Alrighty, stances again. Boys and girls.
Initiative.
So is my initiative roll affected by the disadvantage?
Terrible.
No, because you are not trying to hit a target number. This is just a roll to see how high.
Okay. Okay.
Wow, that is bad, my friend.
Yeah, I know.
3 plus 6.
And I'm still hurt too.
So I am whatever I just rolled plus 6.
I especially would told her to F off because this is a line that she's trying. Yeah,
I'm 24. I'm 24.
So I'm glad I said what I said. I doubled down on that. I am still hurt though. So did I get a void point back last night, Tanner?
Yes. Yep. Your void points are refreshed.
If you want to tell me that no, they're not because I didn't take a full night's rest.
No, you did. I narrated it. Yeah, you're totally fine. Kakita, you got a 28.
24.
Okay. And what did Yasuki get?
13.
Alrighty, Kakita, you are squaring off against. You see she is approaching a member of your kin, more or less, as she has her large two-handed bisento and is walking towards you. But you have the first move.
Okay, so
So they were able to get outside with me?
Yeah. I'll say in the time that you had that chat, they have joined you.
Got
And you guys there are guards within earshot, so presumably if you call for them, you might have. Yeah. Okay. Just
okay.
not the honorable thing to do.
I'm not going to use my Way of the Crane. I'm going to do a regular attack.
Okay.
So
she is in attack stance, by the way, I should say.
Okay. So that is. So when I again what's the disadvantage to this when I?
So all of your armor TNs or all of your TNs that you hit are increased by 10. So it's the mathematical equivalent of subtracting 10 from whatever you're about to roll.
Okay, yep. That makes sense. Okay, so
if you want to do it that way, that's probably easier for me too.
Okay, 6K3. 6, 3. So whatever this is minus 10, so 7.
No, so your hand trembles as you draw your blade and move towards her, and she just effortlessly steps out of the way of your strike. And she is going to try to strike you. So what is your armor T?
10. Well, it's 20, so I guess that makes it 10 with the disadvantage.
Nope, it doesn't affect your armor TN. It affects the TNs that you have to hit.
Okay. Sorry. Okay, so 20.
So she's going to make an attack at you right now. You have not spent a void point. If you want to, you can spend one right now to increase your defense by 10, or you can spend one if you get hit to reduce your wounds by 10. It's just an option. I'm not saying you have to do either, but
well, so how many? Let's see. I have 2 void points. I'll go ahead and use one to increase my defense.
Okay, awesome. So just so you know, once you use this one, you have to wait a whole turn before you can use one again.
Yeah, makes sense.
Okay, cool. I just didn't want you to do that and then think that you could do the other one too. So she attacks with her Bicento. And she gets an 18, which you dodge out of the way of. Whew, and it embeds itself in the ground and sends dirt and dust and rock flying. All right, we have Yasuki up next.
I think I'm going to be emboldened by the confirmation of my suspicions, and
Okay.
I'm going to go full attack.
Alrighty.
Whether it's a good move or not, I'm going to do it.
It's the one you got to make.
So that's 2k plus 1 to my existing 2k2 for attack, right? So 4k3?
Yep.
Okay.
And you can spend a void point on this too if you want to increase it by a further 1k1.
I think I'll wait on that. I have a feeling I need to soak some damage.
Okay.
25.
Say hit, my friend.
Awesome. And then that's 4k2 for damage. 17.
Ouch. She is not wearing armor, so that definitely strikes into her. You have nicked her. What does this look like?
I just kind of... I get like a crazy look in my eyes. It's like, I'm right! And I just come like hatcheting at her.
Yeah, and she is ill-equipped to defend against that. You actually take her by surprise and you slice her arm.
I don't like the implication that you're rarely enough right that you get excited about
Yes.
it.
Hey, Rokugan is not a meritocracy, my friend.
you gotta take your wins where you can get them.
Matsu.
All right. I'm gonna do the unwise thing and actually I'm gonna do the wise thing and spend Paragon of Duty. So I'm a void point down.
You're ignoring your wounds.
Yep. I'm gonna go full attack.
Alrighty.
And then full attack means
2k1.
2k1 to attack rolls. So my Nodachi is gonna become a 7k3 attack. And I'm gonna call 2 raises on that.
For damage.
Yep.
Awesome. So you basically have to hit a 25 to get both raises.
7k3. I have not done the math ahead of time, so hopefully that works.
I think you're okay. I think you're in good shape.
Okay. 7k3.
It's imminently possible.
Nice.
29.
Nice. That is a hit. So add 2 KO to that damage roll and give it to me.
All right, so it's going to be 9k3 plus 6. So let me roll the 9k3.
It's disgusting.
Huh.
27 plus 6, 33 damage.
Oh my god. All right.
Wow.
33. Okay. She is down. She is not dead though. But she is at a plus 40 TN to do anything. So effectively helpless. So what does this move look like?
I hate to keep saying the baseball swing. You know what? It's I've got so many friends in and around it that it has to be an overhand strike or I risk hitting them.
Mm-hmm.
And I like what you said before about the guy who got his blade up. She gets her blade up, her heavy blade, but as wounded as she is, I knock it out of the way. And I'm going to say it sinks into her shoulder.
And she screams with pain as she drops to her knees and she drops the weapon and she is holding it and she's looking up pleadingly at Kakita, who is going next. What do you do?
So she's down. I mean, so I look at you guys. I mean, we don't want to kill her, do we?
I have kind of a daring thing I could say here, Brian.
I mean, I just killed 2 people last night.
You can't kill anymore.
I've done enough killing.
Especially this being a kinsman of yours.
Yeah, I'm not.
I think keeping her alive will point us towards the way of justice. So if we keep her alive, justice can be served.
I was going to say, I think me killing her might be the most merciful thing for everyone involved.
That's also a good point.
Because it saves his soon-to-be brother-in-law from having any of this splash on him. Whereas you
guys also know you can demand. You can't demand it. You could suggest seppuku that she cleanses her own dishonor and wipes it clean. But that is a right that you have to give her. That's not something she can necessarily demand.
I'll go on one knee and get eye to eye with her and ask her which she prefers. Do you want a death in combat with me, or do you want to clear your own dishonor?
If I clear my own dishonor, the Ronin, will they take the fall for this?
I'm going to say yes.
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 I do this not out of cowardice, but to avoid bad blood in the future. And to avoid possible escalation. That was never my goal. But I can see how foolish I was. And she looks at you and she says, "Will you be my second?" And as she draws her wakizashi and places it against her stomach.
And I'll say something encouraging like, "This is a wait, Summer, I'm a spare. I am your second."
And she plunges it into her stomach, and she is about to yelp in pain.
I strike her head off. Do I roll for that?
No.
Okay.
And it rolls across the floor, and as one more body joins the pile, the marriage and the ceremony goes off without a hitch, and this ugliness is put behind us, and the hostilities between the lion and the crane are put off at least for an extra couple of months.
Sweet.
Yay.
There we go.
I need to make a quick trip south.
Oh, yeah. Do you want to narrate the epilogue of what Yasuki does here?
Yeah. So
Okay.
I go south to the crab emissary at the castle, and I report to them that it is my suspicion that Koichi has been corrupted by the taint. From the evidence of she used to be healthy, she graduated from the heavy weapons school, and now that she has gone to the other side of the river, she's now frail, unable to have children, has the blood on her kimono from where she's clearly coughing up blood, and that they probably need to investigate further to find the actual proof that she is corrupted by the taint.
Alrighty. Awesome. Thanks so much for playing, guys. Do you want to talk about it?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
How did I completely missed the domestic violence? I was looking for it because I was like, I want to get
that was
involved,
something that you couldn't. Okay, so this goes to the secret information. So I'll tell you, everyone, if you want to share what I can share what your secret info was. Brian, yours was to keep Ryumaru's name intact.
Yes.
Which you did. Success. Dusty, yours was to keep Asano's name intact. Yep. I usually, when I play this with 4 people, I have one person who knows about the affair between the Scorpion, and they have to keep that secret, which is always a fun one. Mike's was that he was looking for somebody who was tainted in the village, and he was supposed to report it to the authorities at the end of the adventure. The intent and the way that it's written, I think that you arrived at a perfectly reasonable conclusion, but it's not the one I had in mind. Oda was the one who was tainted, and in some times I ran the adventure, Oda and Kikyo come in more. There were hints.
Which one's Oda?
The son.
The son of the Matsu.
The one with the bad BO and
that's the early sign of the Shadowlands taint.
I forgot about the BO.
Yeah.
I totally forgot about the BO.
And I wasn't thinking in terms of somebody being tainted at that point. So.
Right. It's a very subtle. Yeah. And it's something that, I don't think you guys did anything wrong. I don't think I did anything wrong, but it's one of those things where if you wanted to dig there, the reason why she was wearing all the makeup and the reason why they heard signs of a fight is because he became like a ballistic, aggressive dude his personality is deteriorating and he hit her.
Yeah. And I will go there. I've been going to conventions my entire adult life and I'm just used to it. So
Sure.
So Okay, so this isn't. So she's not tainted. He is.
Correct. Koichi
Okay.
is just has a genetic disease of some sort, and Matsu traded her so that he could sabotage their bloodline.
Oh
for the
no,
rest of
I meant the other Matsu,
Cool.
the soon to be bride. She's
No,
not.
she is not.
tainted.
No,
Okay,
Oda is the
okay.
only one who is tainted.
Okay.
And there was
Okay.
a story there. One of the rumors that I was thinking about giving you was that Oda had been to the wall and served on the wall for a couple years and has come back. But at the point that you were at, I thought it would have just been sort of a red herring, and I didn't really want to throw that at you. I think it would have just led you off course. So,
Yeah.
but I think your reasons given are totally fine, and I'm sure that she'll have a nice conversation with the Cooney witch hunters as they grill her about whether she's tainted or not. So.
About her tuberculosis.
Hey, can never be too certain. You cannot be too
Oh
certain.
man.
Yeah. Did you guys have a good time?
Yeah, this
Yeah.
is great.
I really like I really like the system. I think that I'm carrying the same baggage that I had from our 5e play in Rokugan,
Yeah.
where I have a hard time wrapping my head around the etiquette of everything
Right.
because it's so foreign to what I'm used to, and I like it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like I don't know exactly how to interact in that world.
Yeah.
I rewatched. Sorry,
No, go ahead.
I rewatched 13 Assassins last night, which is one of my favorite,
Yeah.
Japanese movies about
So
the
you're
Japanese
prepared.
story.
Yeah.
And what I took away from that movie was basically they did the same things we do. They did whatever they wanted. They just found different ways to dress it up.
Yes.
And Rokugan is a very romantic version of Japan. In real Japan in history, this is probably amped up the etiquette. Most people in history probably talk to each other like human beings, but this is like a specific, like they take like Heian Japan, which is like in like the 900s where people would like kill each other over poems and stuff like that, and brought that like into the like Sengoku Japan. So it's not entirely historical anyway, but it's a fun hurdle that you always have to keep in mind.
It's like the code of chivalry. That still doesn't click, even though that's more our history, I
Right.
guess, in a sense. It still doesn't click with me.
Yeah,
But
chivalry was bullshit even back in the day.
Well, yeah, but
And Bushido was bullshit. Bushido was invented by Imperial Japan in the 30s to make people want to die for their country in China.
that is
So,
awesome.
Yeah, I mean, Bushido is
Martin calls
loaded.
it Bushido.
Yes, it is.
I've heard you to say that. Yeah.
I wish this game was better at telling you that as a player of like, this isn't how things really were, but wouldn't it be interesting if it was? Like, yeah, because people were just as ruthless back then. There were samurai headhunters. Like, that wouldn't be something you could do in Rokugan, but yeah.
Well, I'm older than you, Kyle, Tanner. But when I was when Ninja Turtles were a big thing when I was a kid, it created a whole generation, my generation of Japanophiles that totally fetishized samurai and ninja and all
that's
Japanese stuff.
And like, I don't think that that's a bad thing in itself of like being interested in stuff, but like L5R is kind of a problematic game in some regards like that, because it's not only like the enthusiasm of samurai, but it's like taking the stuff of like, oh, this is like what Imperial Japan used to justify the rape of Nanking. Oh, yeah.
There's an awesome documentary called Samurai Headhunters, and it talks about this whole thing that's not even in the book at all, where samurai largely got paid
right
by the heads they took in battle and brought back to the daimyo.
Yeah, which you could never do in Rokugan. So yeah, like you said, Rokugan is not Japan, but it looks a lot like it, and it tries to be. I just wish it wore it on its sleeve a little bit more of like, hey, you shouldn't think samurai they're good guys. I wish the book would say that, but it doesn't. So yeah. But did you guys have a good time? In its own way, yeah,
very
this
much
is
so.
great.
And having listened to your whole campaign and having listened to your summary of it, your postmortem, which I'm really enjoying. I'm looking forward to part 3.
Awesome.
Knowing that we're playing the bad guys in this oppressive culture of being the 1%ers and defending that to the death. Oh man! On the one hand, it hurts. On the other hand, I'm role playing it.
Right, and I give you guys props. You guys role played it awesomely, and you thought about in character, concerns and things. And I liked that you guys brought in the very light PvP stuff that I brought into this, of that you all sort of have different ulterior motives here. So you guys knocked it out of the park too. That's awesome for the first time playing L5R for realsies.
Thank you.
So a good lesson learned here that I'll talk about if we'll probably do an RPGLL on the show if you don't mind.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
and one big lesson learned is that it is possible to get better at a game by listening to it. Much of the stuff that I pulled out and was talking about was thanks to listening to Shadow of the Cabal made me a better L5R player.
Yeah. And for me listening, I didn't once pull out a dick joke, which is...
Oh, yeah. We've all heard Tanner talk about on his appearances on our show that taking this game seriously is so important. So,
yeah.
And you guys did
really
awesome
hard
job
to
with
do that.
Yeah. And I think that in tense situations, I don't mind when people crack jokes because that is just human nature to relieve tension. And that's a sign that I'm doing a good job, I think, if you guys are cracking jokes during tense situations. So that stuff doesn't bother me. But yeah, like the poo-poo pee-pee stuff, I'd be like, all right, guys, let's get back on. Yeah. Which is totally fine in other games. I just don't think it adds to L5R very much.
Oh, yeah, absolutely not. Yeah.
Mike, we've been talking over you. Did you want to...
I think you guys pretty much covered it. That's the feedback I had. This is a great game. This is a great time. I liked your implementation of Roll20, and it kind of gives me an appetite that we maybe try to
didn't even think about that.
Roll20 in our games again and take a stab at it, right? So separating Roll20 from the grid, I think that's brilliant, and I think I got to ask, how much prep time did you put into your Roll20 for this?
Less than an hour, I think. I had
Beautiful.
I looked up an image of a map of a village on a river. I went to Photoshop and I slapped some stuff on it. And then I had all of these assets for the clan emblems in Roll20 already from when I did Shadow of the Cabal. Because in Shadow of the Cabal, if you guys want, I can send you pictures of my setup for Shadow of the Cabal. Because I had like journals of all the NPCs and I gave them each their own icons so they could tell at a glance who was who. So those assets I already had uploaded. So I just pasted them on here and got going. Yeah.
I think this is beautiful, and just having a list of cast of characters that I can refer back to.
That was so great. Yeah.
It didn't stop me from this. This helps me play.
Yeah, because the first 2 times I ran this, I didn't have that. And the number one piece of feedback was there was a lot of names floating around. So when I ran it at a catacon, I actually printed out on index cards the clan mon, the clan symbol, and then their name. And then I left the back blank for them to take notes on the character and pass them around to one another and like be able to arrange them on the table itself. And I thought that was a big help.
That's awesome.
That's smart.
Yeah.
So any feedback on us as players?
No, I think you guys knocked it out of the park. You followed the things that I presented for you that I wanted, the threads I wanted you to follow. You didn't get caught on the red herrings too much.
So criticism on myself, I do what I normally do, which is sort of start slow. Right. And sort of stand back and sort of try to piece things out. I'm not really a great one-shot player. I do better with campaigns where it takes me a while to fill things through.
And that is totally fine. And L5R is especially a hurdle to that, specifically of like getting into the mindset, like you said, and like feeling like you have an idea of like what's a reasonable thing to do and not. I do like that you guys were not passive at all. You were very actively investigating. You were actively looking around and piecing stuff together and trying to find clues. And I was listening to you and being like, I think at some point one of you said, well, if we go here and we get this answer, that means this. And if we get this answer, it means that. I'm like, okay, I know what answer I have to give them now. So always being able to talk that through and stuff and being able to vocalize what you're thinking, I think is always a good thing because it helps me, prep along and put the railroad tracks down ahead of you, so to speak. But yeah, that's awesome. And go ahead.
I had 2 criticisms on myself. One is that I just now noticed I didn't play my disadvantage at all.
What was your disadvantage again?
Consumed by will. I have to get my own way.
Ooh.
Oh.
I did not use that at all. So poo-poo on myself. And
mine was easy. My disadvantage was easy because it was situational, and it was.
Yeah, consumed by will. I mean, it does. You did the mechanical parts of it, which is that you sucked at being a courtier. But yeah, the story, the fluff part of it. I mean, it's okay. There's a lot of moving parts. I don't blame you for first time in a new system forgetting one thing on your character sheet. That's no big.
And my other criticism of myself was, Brian, when I stepped on your turn about you should really be in center stance. I shouldn't. Play your character. I
would have suggested the thing probably right afterwards because the way that you narrated it was that anyway, of like, I'm going to stand calm and still and serene and wait for him to make the first move. That's what center stance is. So I don't think you should beat yourself up about that too much, I would say.
Yeah, I was like, thank you. Because I was, again, focused on the stance and not so much focused on what my advantage was or what my skill was, because I was looking at what would happen if I was in attack or full attack, and not necessarily what the implication was when it came to my specific character.
One other thought. Thank God for the dice rolling in Roll20. Can you imagine rolling 9 D10s and all this one exploded?
It is a slow system. I don't think I could do a campaign of L5R in person, honestly. I've ran it at a catacon, like I said, and that's why I put the dice math. It's like, you don't have to do the math. It's 3K2, and I walk people through that of like 3 dice. It's not as bad. It's still pretty slow because you can look at the dice and say, okay, get rid of those ones, keep those ones, add them up, boom. But it's not a fast system or an intuitive one, really, I think. I
think we need to have something. I think, Dusty, for the East Texas University game, I guess it would be too late because we're, halfway through now?
Yeah, we're halfway through.
To implement that. But I love that macro for rolling the dice. God, that was great.
Yeah, macros are really fun, and Roll20 is definitely like, you get as much out of that as you want to put into it. And I think on Roll20 it keeps track of how much time I've spent. I have 900 hours in Roll20.
I noticed that last night.
Yeah,
127 hours.
Yeah, I've been playing since like 2013 on Roll20 or something like that, though. So it's not. Yeah, I have no excuse, actually.
I have 6 hours on Roll20.
Yeah.
And now it's like 9.
Yeah.
I remember we tried it once, and it's like, no, maybe not. Yeah.
It's not something
but this way to doing it not on the grid, that is amazing. Did you pioneer that, or did you steal that, or that's awesome?
No, I mean, I ran one. So in Shadow of the Cabal, the first fight that they have in like episode 2 is on a grid. And it was god awful because they were like, because you could hear players being like, "Oh, I want to move him over there," or "Hey, can you move up there?" And I'm like, this means nothing to anybody listening to us. So for L5R, as much as it kind of wants you to, I don't play it on a grid, and I play pretty fast and loose with who's where and all that. So for some games, but like for when I played like 5e, like D&D 5e on Roll20, I had a grid and it was fine, but for me, it comes down to the fact that I'm like you, Dusty, where if I prepare a map for something, by God, I want to use it. And that was the number one piece of feedback I got from my 5e D&D game, where they're like, Tanner, you really kind of shoehorned us into this place and time because of we could tell you had a dungeon built for it. And so I'm going to try to do less maps because I think it's just better for me as a person overall. But yeah. Yeah, I love Roll20. The best thing for me is that it gives you something to look at. Like, I can just throw an evocative piece of art or something up there of like if you guys were going to spend time in the village, I'd have a page like this for the village, so that, I don't know, it kind of helps me get in the headspace of looking at things to describe stuff better. But yeah,
I like that.
Yeah. Do you guys have any feedback on the adventure itself? Because I have tweaked it every single time I've played it with somebody, and I would love to hear your thoughts on that.
So I haven't played another L5R campaign. I mean, we did the Rokugan thing in 5e, but I think this was a really great introduction to the world without it didn't force anything down our throats like a lot of games, like a lot of introductory experiences would. Like I said, yeah, we already had some sort of introduction to Rokugan playing the 5e game. But I felt much more comfortable in the world than I did in the other one. It again, I had the benefit of understanding it a little bit better, but it was nice and tight. I mean, it felt like a con game, like a really good con game. Like when we were at Mace, this would have been something fun to play in person. And I didn't want to get frustrated with anything related to the game itself. The only frustrating thing that happened the entire time was when my internet dropped out.
Okay. I'll take that as a victory.
This was an incredibly smooth game, especially first time inhabiting the characters, first time in this village. I mean, let's be honest. It's easier for Western people to remember Western names.
Absolutely.
Keep all the Eastern names straight. I mean, considering all that, this was incredibly smooth. The only thing I would say to add for future plays, especially around a table, is a little tiny handout for everyone on what it means to be an Emerald Magistrate. And I had the advantage of having listened to Shadow of the Cabal. I had the advantage of having listened to you tell
over
Justin,
the course of 50 hours.
50 hours.
Yeah.
That, hey, this is what Rokugan Justice is, and it's important that it's quick and that you find some, like, laying out the liberties that you can take as a Yuriki and what you're trying to do, like on a little tiny handout to give them some guiding principles.
Yeah, I could probably move the player handout, move some stuff around on there, and make room, and just say like, "Hey, look for testimony. Evidence is secondary. Talk to samurai. Yada yada yada. Like, don't get involved with things that aren't involved with your investigation. That kind of stuff."
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
And hey, you need to move quick, and you need to Rokugan Justice is swift.
I'll make a little note card that's like, it's your first day being a deputy.
Oh yes,
That'd be awesome. Yeah.
I love that.
And we didn't need that because I've listened to 50 hours. But for a con, that's the only thing I could think to add.
Okay, awesome.
If it wasn't for Shadow of the Cabal, I would have had a lot of questions around. Well, as a Yuriki, can I ask that? Can I do this? Can I? That's it. This was an amazing, smooth, awesome, really fun adventure.
That makes me happy.
I'll echo what they said for a whodunit adventure. This is probably one of the tightest, smoothest whodunits I've played in a while. There weren't any false leads.
I said on Twitter last night that we haven't done one, and I don't think we have. We did a
Guerrillas.
Who Kidnapped Them.
Guerrillas game was pretty much a whodunit. So Terror on the Kataro, that's kind of a whodunit.
Is it?
It's
there's
close
no
to whodunit.
There's no other suspects.
I think it's
like this game had suspects and people that it could be in motives.
Right.
That game is just someone got straight up murder-rated.
Yeah.
And you have to figure out.
My intent with this one is that I really, really hate red herrings in RPGs because in a book it's a waste of a chapter. At a table it's a waste of an hour of 5 people's time.
Oh, absolutely.
So if you want to, Dusty, I could talk to you about how I have the adventure laid out, where in the back I have the core clues, which are like, these are the 3 things that the players need to learn to arrive at the correct conclusion. So those core clues are: the victims were all killed with a large, heavy-edged weapon, which is not too crazy to find out. So the first time I ran this, I'll say I did not have the core clues for this. So my players stumbled way more, and then I said, okay, I've got to figure that out. So the second core clue is that the 2 Daidoji kids were both trained at the Matsu dojo. You kind of need to put that together to pin that on them. The third one, this is the one that for the first 2 times I ran it, I didn't make apparent and nobody knew why anything was going on, which was that Daidoji Koichi used to be a lion and she's sickly. So from those 3 things, you should be able to figure out the whole mystery if you can put those together in the right way. So that was my intent with those, to say, hey, if all else fails, get these 3 pieces of information to the players somehow, no matter where you put it. So like I had the Daidoji Koichi used to be a lion. I didn't really find when you guys were RPing that through, like there was a good place to put it, so I gave it to you as a rumor. Yeah. And my intent with the red herrings, I mean, there were kind of some. There were suspicions, but they were all things that my goal was that if you suspected the scorpion or whatever, like within one scene, you could rule that out. I didn't want that wasn't a detour. That was a stop. Nope. Then keep moving. So
I liked using the scorpion.
Yeah. Oh yeah, but I do like. Did you guys have the metagame thought of like, oh, it has to be the scorpion, which means it can't be the scorpion?
Yes, okay.
Okay.
Absolutely. I think I actually played that out in my Courtier roll against him. Of like, you're the obvious villain, but you're not the obvious villain.
You guys were the first group that actually managed to get information out of the scorpion when I've played this. The other players are just like, oh, these assholes, and they left. And they didn't think to like actually say, oh, well, these guys might know what's going on a little bit.
Well, Tanner, thank you so much.
Yeah,
I enjoyed this so much.
Yeah, and if you guys are going to do a lessons learned episode on it, if you want to do it between the 3 of you, that is totally cool and understandable. If you want to ask me questions,
I'd love to have you on that.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. We landed on a discussion amongst ourselves that actual plays are not our ethos.
Yeah, we
we don't want to put those out of ourselves, except for one idea that we have that we'll explain in the
We're gonna
future.
do the 5.
Yeah, we will do a 5. We'll have a lessons learned series where we'll say, you know what does it take for us to learn how to do a show for radio? And then we were going to do a 5-episode Dungeon World thing.
So
But
you do an
aside from
episode.
that-
So you like do an episode and then listen to it and critique it and then do it. Oh, that's interesting.
Yes. And basically say, okay, to be a show for radio, what does that take? But I don't want to do that forever. I want
No.
to do that for a few episodes and mine it for lessons,
Mm-hmm.
and then leave it behind.